Aita for saying if my wife wants to be a trad wife then she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when asked. I'm 35 and my wife is 40. We've been together 15 years. The last couple of years she's really fell down the trad wife black hole and it's driving me crazy. At first it started off with her saying she doesn't want to work anymore and lately it has escalated to saying men who make their wives work are abusive. We both have well-paid jobs. I'm a self-employed builder with a team and earn around £100,000 a year. She works in management for the NHS and earns around £50,000 a year. We both work, I guess I should say work for her really hard and have no kids, and 3 years ago managed to pay our mortgage off and lived in a nice enough area where I would have happily stayed forever. She however suddenly wanted a massive house that we didn't need. I should have saw what was coming. She was looking at £700,000 houses which would require a mortgage of £500,000 after we sold our house. I gave in and we bought a house. She then wanted a new car which again I caved to and she got a car that is worth more than she earns a year. She then decided she didn't want to work anymore. She said her job was crap and I said take a lower paid one then that you'll enjoy more. She said no. She just doesn't want to work full stop. She also doesn't want to give up anything she has. Over the past couple of years it has been obvious she is trying to lose her job without leaving despite me saying that I can't afford the house and car and holidays on my own. She started bringing this trad wife crap up but said she'd want to hire a cleaner as the house is too big for her to clean alone and she prefers my cooking to hers so I'll still do all the cooking. So I said you basically want to dress up pretty and bake the odd cake. She stormed off and said I don't get it. She again brought it up yesterday and I said fine she can do it but she's got to get up before me and make sure my breakfast is ready like in the videos she watches. She's got to be dressed as a sexy version of a 50s housewife like in the videos she watches from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close them. The house must be spotless at all times like in the videos she watches. I want huge packed lunches for work like in the videos she watches. I want to come home and have beautiful pies and cakes ready for pudding like in the videos she watches. I want a bath ran for when I get in and then come down to a proper meal every night like in the videos she watches. I then want a foot rub while I eat the cakes and pies she makes like in the videos she watches. I also want sex on demand, how I want it when I want it, like in the videos she watches. She called me abusive, a user, sexist etc. and stormed out to her equally delusional sister's house. Don't get me started on her. I'll be honest, I'm ready for divorce if this carries on. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, at least you don't have kids, so divorce is easier. Probably best to do it while you're both still earning well so there's no question of alimony. Reply, forgot to add, obviously NTA. In a traditional household women don't make no contribution, their contribution is through domestic labor, while men provide financial value by going out and working. Her contribution would already be far below average given that the bulk of the traditional wife's time is spent on children. She wants to make no contribution, and is disguising it as trad wife. Commenter 2, get the divorce, mate. It'll be cheaper and less stressful than dealing with a crazy wife every minute of the day and night. It's not about the tradwife lifestyle, she simply doesn't want to work. She merely wants to sit on her backside, enjoy the things she has badgered you into paying for, and do nothing. There is a lot of this kind of crazy going around. It won't get any better either. What will it be next? Vacations on the French Riviera? A bigger, nicer, more expensive car? The list goes on and on. Reply, I am leaning this way mate. I think a divorce is more likely than anything else at this moment in time. Luckily she's afraid of flying so I've managed to avoid the expensive holidays apart from the odd Eurostar trip to Paris. She's makes me feel like a £10 millionaire though trying to be something we aren't. I know we are better off than most but we don't earn footballers' money which is what I think she aspires to. Update, Aita for saying if my wife want to be a tradwife she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when asked. I'd like to answer a few questions from my first post before an update. No, my requests were not serious and I can't believe how many people thought they were. It was me trying to prove a point of how ridiculous she is being. Like I said in the comments, I don't want a maid or a slave, I want a partner. Before my wife got on this train she was a very ambitious, career-driven person who wanted to climb to the top. She was never really on social media until the pandemic. The trad wife thing started a couple of years ago. A lot of people suggested couples counseling. I've asked many times and always get the same response, I don't need counseling, there's nothing wrong with me. On to the update. We spoke Saturday morning and I told her that I can't go on like this. I said to her bluntly the trad wife thing is never happening and she either accepts it and we go to couples counseling or we split up. I'm don't dancing around her bullshit. She chose to split up. I asked her if she even really wanted to be a trad wife or if she's just trying to force me away, like she's trying to force her job to sack her because she doesn't have the balls to quit herself. She said yes she does and there's plenty of dating sites that cater to this dynamic. I told her I'd seen them and they are more sugar daddy dynamics and without being horrible she's too old for that. This set her off. She said I'm wrong and that I'm the one who can't support my wife so I'm the bad one in the marriage and a real man would be able to give her the life she wants. She was shouting and screaming this at the top of her lungs. It's about the only time I've been glad to be in our new house so the neighbors didn't hear. I got a bit petty at the real man comment and said you can't cook, you can't clean and you don't have sex, what part of being a trad wife do you offer? I then stole a comment from my last post and said she doesn't want to be a trad wife she wants to be a trophy wife. She just said I'm unbelievable and has gone to her sisters again. I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and start talking to a divorce lawyer to see what this entails. Then once this ball has got rolling I'm fucking off to Portugal for a couple of weeks to myself. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She's 40 and in the UK where there isn't a conservative trophy wife culture. She's going to be divorced and on benefits in a shitty bedsit. Take care of yourself OP, because she's intent on blowing up her life for some reason. Commenter 2, NTA and congrats on having the balls to divorce her ass. My husband and I are both super career driven and are equal partners in everything. The joy of being in an equal partnership like that is not something I can put into words. I'm so glad you didn't settle. Also, as a woman, I believe that any woman who buys into this nonsense needs to learn the hard way. She's in for a rude shock in a few months, when she realizes what she's done. She will come crawling back. Do not take her back. Update 2, Aita for saying if my wife wants to be a trad wife she always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when I ask. I'm 35 my ex-wife is 40 and we have no kids. About 2.5 months ago I posted about my wife leaving me because I refuse to live the trad wife lifestyle. In my original post I mentioned the big house and car she got me in debt for over £500,000 and then decided she didn't want to work anymore. Starting with the car. After she left I took half our savings and half the money in our joint account and put it in my own bank account. I told her to take the rest around £60,000 and she can either pay off the car with the money or keep the money and I'll take the car back as it's in my name. She said neither she's keeping both. This has been a struggle that ended with me having to ring the police to assist me in taking the car back. I got there and the police were already there. My ex was crying, the 2 police officers looked at me like I was a piece of shit. My sister-in-law was shouting yeah take her independence and go back to your mansion while she sleeps in the spare room the neighbors were all out looking. I very nearly caved and told her to just keep it but it's £1,500 a month I can't warrant. I took it, sold it, and had to pay £12,000 difference in what I owed on it. I'll be honest I was expecting worse. Now the house. We paid £700,000 for it with 200 down. I've spent about 100 on it doing it up and when I got valued I was pleasantly surprised at £1 million and even more surprised that within 2 weeks of it going on the market it sold to one of my neighbors. A lovely Indian family who had asked me to work on their house but they said it's just easier to move into mine. They do however want me to build a granny annex on the side once they've completed the purchase. That'll be another couple of months yet but we'll both walk away with around £250,000 each and I'll be looking to buy a house for around £200,000 so I'll be back to mortgage-free and debt-free in a couple of months. On to my wife. She's still living at her sister's and as far as I'm aware hasn't found anyone who wants a 40-year-old tradwife who doesn't cook, clean, or have sex. She has asked me back twice but I've said no. One was a drunken proposition, the other one more heartfelt. It's too late now though. We've already started the divorce proceedings and that should be done early next year. All I've been doing is working and plodding along. Nothing else I really can do. I thought I'd update because I still get 10 to 20 messages a week asking how I'm doing and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, the best update to read under the circumstances. She really deluded herself into blowing up her life. Commenter 2, she has no one to blame but herself. And maybe TikTok. Good for you. Better luck next wife. Stories number 2. Family lied about being related to me to make me switch from business to economy so they could sit together. Booked the business with Lufthansa because it guaranteed the middle seat staying empty. The other passenger in the aisle seat was a man in his 40s or 50s. His wife and son came in, asking me to switch business for economy so they could all sit there, then telling me that if I didn't switch with the wife, the son would sit in the middle at least, reasoning that I didn't need an empty seat next to me and claiming the stewardess allowed it. Throw it out, she said it was possible if the other passenger agreed, to which they replied that I was a family, so I would 100% agree. I didn't budge. The son and wife had to stay in the economy and his father spent almost 4 hours muttering passive-aggressive comments. Whenever I took off my headphones he was still going. Like what the fuck? But S/O to the stewardesses, another one had to come, because they refused to go back to their seats for staying professional. Comments. Commenter 1. LOL, he didn't give up his seat for his family, just wanted you to. Reply. I've had a few similar interactions already and they rarely switch themselves. I'm also not a big fan of exchanges that involve a class downgrade, happened to me in trains too. Commenter 2. Imagine lying to the crew about being my family to steal my business class seat, then getting mad when I don't agree to the scam. I paid for that space, not to babysit someone else's travel drama. Commenter 3. When I was traveling for work, and my work was the ones booking and paying for it, I usually didn't care about people playing musical seats to get a better spot. As long as I'm not getting downgraded. But when it's me booking and paying for it? Hell no. Fuck you. My seat. I don't care what your story is, go try it on someone else. I book and pay for a window seat with extra leg room, it's all mine and I will delay all of us to keep it. Reply. I'm quite open to switching in some cases, like when the airline fucks up, it's a short flight and there's no difference in the service etc. But class downgrade or someone wanting something they could have paid for but refused? Absolutely not. LOL. Commenter 4. Where this people lives come from, out of reality. Just checked, a random Dubai, Bangkok economy ticket is $300, business $1,800. It's like I spent $1,500 for a stranger. Hello my friend, we don't know each other, can you give me the seat you paid $1,000 for my kid? Reply. It doesn't even make sense in this case because with Swiss and Lufthansa the business is often cheaper than the economy and usually unrelated to how much in advance you buy the tickets. Like I'm flying the same route in a week, then the middle of September and the end of October and all of them have the business class cheaper. Stories number 3. I am/25 recently learned my father 50s M is cheating on my mother 50s F. I instantly went nuclear. Hi Reddit, I have a juicy one for you. I say that because the actual drama has largely played itself out, but I'm feeling some guilt over what I've done, and could use advice on how to move forward. Background on my family is that it's been pretty idyllic, my folks have always gotten on well, are strong communicators, parented myself and my younger siblings as a team, and were very good parents. My teenage years were a rough patch in my relationship with my father, but since I left for college at 18 we really began getting along. When I pictured a strong marriage, I pictured my parents, bar none. The other day, it all came crashing down. This entire story takes place over roughly an hour. I received a Facebook message request from a stranger. I've been trying to fill an empty spot in my apartment, so I was in the habit of accepting these requests, and figured it was someone interested in the room. The initial messages were odd, however, broken English, small talk, no mention of an apartment. I then figured it was a scam of some sort, so I of course kept messaging the woman to see where it went and waste their time. Then, she made a comment about my sister, and said that her boyfriend talks about me and my sister all the time. I asked who her boyfriend was. She replied, your dad, he doesn't talk about me. At this point, I assumed I was being blackmailed or scammed. My father's career led him to a very high-profile corporate job with a massive international company, so it was definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Certainly my father wasn't cheating on my mother. Then she sent photos, one of those tri-frame Instagram photos. Her on the beach with a man who was no doubt my father. Selfies with arms around each other, one with her kissing him on the cheek. I thought, okay, this could be real. Or, that could be some younger female coworker who's just overly affectionate and dad indulged her in a selfie. This scammer found it and is using it. Around this time, I started getting unprompted, unrelated texts from my father. How are you, how are things going, etc. Odd timing, right? Thinking on my feet, I took a new approach. When she asked again if my father had mentioned his girlfriend to me, I quickly responded yes, of course, sorry, I just wasn't sure which one you were. My thinking was that if this was a scam, saying my father was routinely unfaithful to my mother and dated multiple women at once removed their leverage. If this was real, then I'd throw a wrench in my dad's affair and force the truth out. Oh boy, did I get what I bargained for. The woman freaked out, frantic questions about who this made-up other woman was. I answered them all, and concocted a story about a woman I'd met just a few months prior, who was from country my father works in regularly, made up a name, said my father had been dating women on the side for years, etc. She bought it entirely. The woman asked to speak on the phone, so I obliged. At this point, I realized this was real. The woman was in hysterics, sobbing about how she thought my father loved her, how could he do this, so on and so forth. I kept playing it cool and acted sympathetic, spinning fiction that my father had been a player for years and that he was usually upfront with his girlfriends about seeing other women, and that I was so sorry she had to hear from me. This let me learn who she was and how long the affair had been going on. Then, she asks if I'd be willing to be on a three-way call with her and my father, without his knowledge. I immediately said yes. Within 60 seconds, I was muted on a three-way call listening to my father console this strange woman, who I had fully convinced that she was one of many side chicks, and explained to her that I was attempting to sabotage their relationship because of what I'd just learned. He didn't know that his father was cheating on his mother. He didn't know that his parents are getting a divorce, and now he's just learned that from a stranger. He explained. At this point, I hopped on the call and let him know that, actually, I had learned about the divorce from him, since his insecure bitch of a girlfriend hadn't said anything about the divorce yet. He said oh, Christ, and I left the call. I called my mother immediately afterwards to figure out what was going on. She let me know that the two of them had been going through the early stages of a divorce for several months, that it was amicable and they both thought it best, and had plans to tell all three of us once things were more finalized. She said that she had only learned of the affair, however, a few days prior to this incident. The following morning, after a lengthy and heated discussion with my parents, I sent an email to both of them outlining why I was so hurt by this. I don't care about them getting divorced, I trust them to do it kindly and amicably, and they both seem intent on doing it that way as well. I did care about this insane woman thinking it was okay to contact me, my father probing me once he realized that I had been contacted by his GF, my father consoling his GF of 3 months instead of contacting me once he realized that I knew about the affair. My father carrying on an affair and endangering his wife and children, rather than just waiting until after the separation. Ultimately, I told my father not to contact me until I had reconciled what kind of relationship I want to have with him at this point. Here's where I need advice. I feel guilty about what I did. I immediately, ruthlessly, and effectively destroyed the relationship that my father had with this woman, who for her part at least seemed to really love him and feel loved by him. She is now convinced that he was cheating on her too. While it's obviously my dad's own fault for starting this relationship in secret while he was still with my mother, I still wonder if I've destroyed something that could have been really good for my dad. I'm also kind of shocked at myself for being able and willing to manipulate people like that. I also don't know where to go from here. I'm absolutely disgusted by my father and have lost a lot of respect for him. I'm not the one being cheated on, but I definitely feel like I've been put second fiddle to his GF of 3 months. The damage control should have been with his son, not his mistress, right? Even so, I love my father, and have been building a wonderful relationship with him over the last 4 to 6 years especially. I don't want to throw that all away. I can't figure out in my head what it is I want him to say or do that will allow me to forgive him. I would love any thoughts on my behavior in this situation, or how I can reconcile my love for my dad with this absolute loss of respect I have for him. TLDR, learned that my dad was cheating on my mom, and immediately torpedoed his affair with some heartless manipulation. Feel guilty about what I've done and am struggling to see a path towards forgiving my father. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm a little confused by these timelines. You said your father was with this new woman for a few months. You said your mother said they had been planning the divorce for a few months. It sounds like their relationship is already done. Do you know whether your father's new relationship started after they had agreed to a divorce? Or after they had already ended it? The reason I'm asking is because a divorce is just a legal proceeding to dissolve the marriage. Once they've agreed to the divorce, the relationship is done. Calling it an affair if it started after the previous relationship ended seems like a stretch. The timeline of a marriage and a relationship are usually not the same. A relationship usually begins well before a marriage and ends well before a divorce. It would be like saying an affair isn't an affair if the couple is only engaged and not yet married. While it's not very classy to start a new relationship that quickly, if he did, I could see why he wouldn't tell your mom, knowing it would probably hurt her to move on so quickly. Though in the case of a divorce after a long marriage, at least one of the two parties many times both in an amicable divorce usually has been done in their mind long before it got to the point of starting divorce proceedings. Reply. You said your mother said they had been planning the divorce for a few months. It sounds like their relationship is already done. Do you know whether your father's new relationship started after they had agreed to a divorce? After speaking with my parents, individually and together, I've learned that the affair was happening before divorce talk/separation had started. My folks have also still not yet engaged in any legal proceedings, just discussions with each other and their pastor. My mom also did not learn of the affair until nearly 3 months after it had started. The reason I'm asking is because a divorce is just a legal proceeding to dissolve the marriage. Once they've agreed to the divorce, the relationship is done. Calling it an affair if it started after the previous relationship ended seems like a stretch. Now, I did not know this at the time I made my decisions, but in the aftermath I've confirmed that it did indeed begin before the marriage had ended by any definition. The timing was indeed close. Commenter 2, I can see both sides, honestly. He did something that completely broke your trust, kept it secret, and consoled someone who's a complete stranger to you as you learned of divorce from his own mouth. Meanwhile, you kinda walked right into that last one by accepting a 3-way call. Then went nuclear. I understand that emotion can completely sweep people away, especially something big like affairs and divorce, but you are 25 years old. Silent 3-way calls are high school tier. If you want to fix this, reach out to your mom and talk it out with her first. Then reach out to your dad when you've got a better idea about what's going on. Explain to both of them that they should not have lied and hid this from you, and that this random woman contacting you hit you like a damned wrecking ball. They shouldn't be surprised about how it played out. Your dad could have handled this whole thing way better, but then again you could have as well. Reply, I understand that emotion can completely sweep people away, especially something big like affairs and divorce, but you are 25 years old. Silent 3-way calls are high school tier. Well sure, but again I took this approach to confirm what was happening. At this point I was not fully sure it wasn't a scam. Revealing myself on the call was absolutely an emotionally driven decision, though, definitely not my most mature moment. My other point is that my dad clearly knew that I knew what was up before he accepted the call from his GF, since he was sending me roundabout probing messages. I think that his response should have been to ignore his affair partner and contact me immediately and directly to explain the situation, especially since my mom was already aware of the whole thing, I learned later. If you want to fix this, reach out to your mom and talk it out with her first. Then reach out to your dad when you've got a better idea about what's going on. Explain to both of them that they should not have lied and hid this from you, and that this random woman contacting you hit you like a damned wrecking ball. They shouldn't be surprised about how it played out. Already taken these steps, I'm trying to figure out how to move forward from here. I don't want to lose my relationship with my father, but I'm struggling to see how I can forgive him for the deception and disrespect. Update. Firstly, thanks to everyone who commented. I got some really reassuring advice, some challenging points of view that helped me be more introspective, and some rather flattering remarks about my quick thinking. Y'all really helped me feel in control and added some context to my perspective, so thank you. Since my post, a few things have happened. My parents spoke as a pair to each of our family members individually, my siblings, but also my aunts, uncles, grandparents, etc., to let them know about the divorce, the affair, and about what went down between my father and other woman. My family is pretty universally upset with my father. Not that I want everyone hating on him, but he did at best screw up royally, and it's good to know that no one is choosing teams instead of acknowledging who did wrong. My parents have both blocked this other woman from all phone lines/social media, etc. This is in part why the rest of the family was notified, so that they'd be aware if this woman tried to make contact. After the above, we learned that this woman had attempted to contact my 17Y.0 sister 24 hours before the events of my OP. My sister missed the messages and didn't see them until after everything happened and was out in the open. Still not speaking with my father, but have talked with other family about what's going on. As for how I'm feeling about the situation, any guilt that I had for what I did vanished the second I learned that this woman tried to contact my sister first. While my response was to tear this whole thing apart as quickly and effectively as I could, I cannot imagine what my poor little sister would have gone through if she'd had contact with this woman. I'm livid that she thought this was even remotely appropriate, and I'm livid that my father at any point thought this was a safe or stable person to involve himself with. Therefore, I don't feel even a bit guilty about what I did any longer. I'm staying no contact with my father until I sort through what I want to hear from him, and seeking counseling to talk through how my anger in this moment / at this situation is undoubtedly linked in all sorts of messy ways to my upbringing, etc. Crazy how hard it is to find a LPC with a 3-month waiting list, but I'll get there. Thanks again for the great comments on my OP. It really helped me judge which of my feelings were valid, and where I needed to cut myself a break. I think I'm in a better place now, but of course would love to hear any further advice/similar stories that y'all think might be helpful, or answer questions. Cheers. TLDR, family is handling the situation correctly though it is hard. Other woman is 1 definitely nuts and 2 completely cut off of the picture. I'm remaining no contact and seeking counseling, but feel much better about what I did and where to go from here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Interesting to hear about how things shook out with your sister, all that anger and protectiveness that you instantly felt when you found out that she tried to get to her. You deserve that as well, man. The fact that she tried to reach out to any of his children, regardless of their age, is disgusting. Reply. Yeah, it really changed my perspective on things. Another reason I'm glad I've taken some time to myself rather than hashing things out with my father right away, because this will definitely be a part of that conversation. Stories number 4. AIO for dumping my boyfriend after he surprised me by inviting his entire family to my 21st birthday dinner, even though I specifically asked for just us 2. I'm 21F, and my boyfriend 22M and I have been together for about 18 months. Things have been mostly good, but he's super close with his family they text in a group chat all day, every day, and he tells his mom everything about our relationship. I'm more introverted and come from a smaller family where we don't share every detail, so I've told him multiple times that I need some boundaries, especially for special occasions. He always says he gets it, but then does stuff like this anyway. For my 21st birthday last week, I was really excited because it's a milestone, and I don't like big parties. I planned a quiet romantic dinner at this fancy Italian place I've been wanting to try forever, just me and him. I made the reservation myself, and told him explicitly, please, no surprises, no family, just us. I want it intimate. He promised he'd respect that and even joked about how he'd make it the best night ever. Well, I show up at the restaurant, dressed up and feeling great, and walk in to see not just him, but his parents, his 2 sisters, his grandma, and even his aunt and uncle all crammed around a huge table with balloons and a cake. Turns out he changed the reservation behind my back to a bigger group and invited everyone without telling me. His mom was like, surprise. We couldn't miss your big day. And started hugging me. I was shocked and honestly felt ambushed. I tried to play it cool at first, but inside I was panicking because I'm not great with crowds, and this was supposed to be my night. Halfway through dinner, I excused myself to the bathroom and texted him that I was upset and felt like he ignored my boundaries again. He replied saying it was no big deal and that his family loves me, so I should be grateful. That made me even madder. After dinner, when everyone left, we argued in the car. He called me ungrateful and said I embarrassed him by not being more enthusiastic. His mom texted me later saying I hurt their feelings by seeming distant and that family is everything. The next day, I broke up with him. I told him I can't be with someone who doesn't listen to my needs and steamrolls me with his family's involvement. Now, he's blowing up my phone saying I'm overreacting and that it was just a sweet gesture. His sister posted on social media without tagging me, but I saw it calling me a drama queen for ruining the vibe. Some of my friends think I was too harsh and that surprises like that are cute, especially since his family is nice. But I feel like this was the last straw after other similar incidents, like him sharing our private arguments with his mom. AIO for dumping him over this? Or should I have just gone along with it? Comments. Commenter 1. No, you are not overreacting. Like it's nice to be surprised like that, but when you have explicitly told him and set a boundary he should respect it, period. Moving forward you would not be able to trust him and that is important. He needs to understand what you want and not just bulldoze over you and do whatever he wants. Especially on a day that was supposed to be made about you. Reply. The trust thing is huge. If I can't count on him to hear no surprises on my own birthday, what about bigger stuff down the line? Feeling validated here. Commenter 2. Nor. You asked him directly for the 2 of you to have a dinner alone, you made the reservation, and he went behind your back, changed the reservation, invited his family over your stated objections, and it sounds like he's not only not apologizing, but trying to throw it back onto you. I think you see that this just would not have worked long term, you guys are too different and he doesn't listen to you or respect your wishes. Commenter 3. Even if you hadn't specifically requested that no family be included, it's bizarre to me that someone would think bringing their whole family to their partner's birthday dinner would be a fun surprise. Stories number 5. Aita for telling my wife to leave instead of my parents after they fought about her religion. So I don't even know how to start this, but I guess here's some important context. I'm 31M, my wife is 29F. We've been married a little over a year, but together for 5 overall. My parents are super Christian, I grew up that way but I don't really practice, a bit more agnostic booty, just kind of go along with whatever to keep my family happy. My wife is Hellenic and, she takes it really seriously, she's got 2 altars in the house, one for Aphrodite in the living room and another in her walk-in closet for Dionysus. She does festivals, offerings, all that. It's never been an issue for us. My parents have never really liked it though. Even before they moved and my mom joked once if we were planning on having gods raise our future kids for us, which I admittedly laughed at, and my dad refused to eat bread my wife baked at our Christmas dinner a few years ago because it didn't have the proper blessings until I pushed him to because it came after one of her holiday things. My mom also said she worried she was inviting dark spirits in, stuff like that. Anyway, back in April my dad lost his job and they couldn't pay rent and their landlord kicked them out. They had nowhere else to go since my sister doesn't have the room and anyone who would take them in lives out of state, so we let them stay with us. It was supposed to be short but it's been 4 months now. Since they've been here it's been a bit of a nightmare. My mom accidentally broke one of my wife's offering bowls in the living room and then said maybe it's a sign those things shouldn't be out in public where people can see. My dad has made a couple comments about praying for her soul, unprovoked. Then my mom actually sprinkled holy water around our bedroom and in my wife's closet where she keeps her Dionysus altar. My wife freaked out about that but my mom said she was protecting us and our spirits. My wife's been saying for a while that she feels like she's not welcome in her own house. She's cried about it and we've fought about it because she says I don't stick up for her. I get that, but I've done little things, like I've told my parents not to touch her altars, I've made sure they don't rearrange her offerings, I've asked them to leave her room alone, even quietly told them they're crossing a line when they make comments. It's not like I do nothing, I just try to do it without lashing out because if I yell it out every time it would be a fight every day and nothing would get done. She says that's not enough and I get that too, but I don't think it's fair for her to say that I don't stick up for her at all, so things have been tense between us. In early July she wanted to celebrate this festival, Aphrodisia, but that morning my parents said there was an emergency with their storage unit and they needed her help because she had a car and I would be at work. She spent the whole day helping and didn't get to do the first day of her celebration and had to cover shifts for her coworker for the next 2 days. My wife didn't really speak to my parents for a bit after that. So last night she decided to finally do it late, she had a couple friends over and set up in the living room. My parents walked in halfway through and my mom said she wasn't comfortable with that sort of thing in the house and my dad said he couldn't allow false idol worship under his roof. My wife yelled that it's her house too and they already ruined it for her once. My dad yelled back that she was dragging me away from God. Her friends were sitting there looking uncomfortable and so was I. I didn't know what to do, everyone was screaming and I panicked and told my wife to leave until things calmed down. She just stopped and looked at me, then went upstairs, grabbed some of her things, and left with her friends. My parents were kind of relieved after, like I finally did something right. But now my wife isn't answering my calls and texts now after I called her a few hours after she left and she said she was tired of fighting to matter as much to me as my parents do. I know it's messed up that everything got to this point but honestly if she hadn't started yelling like that and dragged her friends into it maybe it wouldn't have blown up. Aita for asking her to leave instead of them. Comments. Commenter 1. Wow. You're a piece of shit. So, your parents move in with you and your wife because they can't afford their own place, then make demands, comments and make your wife uncomfortable in her own home, your dad calls it his roof and you choose to kick your wife out. I hope she leaves you. Commenter 2. I sure hope she leaves him. So, OP, let me make sure I have this correct. Your wife follows a different religion than your parents do. She leaves them alone about their religious beliefs and they literally torment her about hers. Then they lose their housing and move in with you, and you threw your wife out of her own house in favor of your bigoted parents. I'm zero religious, but I have to admit I'm hoping Zeus or somebody smites your ass. ETA bigoted because yeah. Commenter 3. You chose to back your intolerant parents and booted your wife from her home, which is supposed to be her sanctuary. Whitey big honkin' hey. Commenter 4. Your parents are intolerant, can't respect the person literally providing them shelter, and you don't have a spine to be able to stick up for your wife. Your parents don't respect her, and by the way you allow this you don't seem to respect her either. Luckily for her, I wouldn't be surprised if she divorces you. Stories number 6. I told my dad to never speak to me again the day my son died. My son of 32 weeks passed away very recently. We knew it was going to happen, so we invited our closest family to say goodbye to him at the hospital. I've always had a very difficult relationship with my dad, but I decided that this was an important thing for him to be a part of. I also needed someone who could take care of our 3-year-old son at home while we were at the hospital and I was giving birth to our stillborn son. He calls me the day before he arrives, asking when I expect to give birth. I tell him that I do not know exactly, since the birth is induced and it can take anywhere between hours to days for my body to react to the medication. He responds, well, I need to let my work know how long I'll be away, so I need a better time frame than that. I repeat myself, as I literally do not know when I'll go into labor, but he keeps pressing me for a more precise answer with quotes like the hospital must know, just ask a doctor, they will know, etc. In the end my husband has to grab the phone and tell my dad to figure it out with his work. My dad then arrives with his girlfriend and is, throughout the entire day, extremely visibly distraught. I think to myself, wow, he really cares, and I feel incredibly bad for him. But I also notice some strange behavior from him. Throughout the 3 hours he was there, he just places himself in a corner in a complete zombie state. He doesn't once console me or my husband. He doesn't once take the initiative to go for a walk with our 3-year-old son or talk to him. He just sits there without a single word, and I have to handle my son while I am also trying to arrange paperwork with the hospital about my stillborn baby. The only thing my dad tells me that day is, you should probably go home to 3-year-old's name, he is very confused and he needs you. At this point I had just given birth to my son 3 hours prior and prior to that been hospitalized for bleeding. My dad then ends up walking out of the room and taking the elevator down. My husband, being a bit worried about him, follows and asks him what is going on. My dad then looks at him and says girlfriend's name and I broke up. My husband doesn't react much with other than telling him he is sorry. My husband also decides to keep it from me for the time being because I am dealing with enough grief at that point. Later in the day we all return home. My dad still sitting motionless on the couch staring into the room. His girlfriend gets up to use the bathroom and he then turns to me with tears in his eyes and drops the bomb on me as well. We broke up, but I don't want to talk about it right now. Clearly he was trying to keep this announcement a secret from his now ex, since he waited to tell me until she left the room. In that moment I can't take it anymore. I glare at him and I tell him I cannot handle this right now and I think you need to leave. Don't contact me. I needed my dad that day. My mom passed away some time ago, and my husband's parents live halfway across the world. I needed my dad more than I had ever needed him, and instead of embracing me, telling me he loves me, telling me he loves our son, comforting me, he is lost in his own grief over his fucking breakup. I don't even know if a single tear that day was shed for my son. At the same time I can't help but feel bad for him, but couldn't he have waited a couple of days to tell me about this? Why did I need to know it on that day? I'm probably just an asshole, I really don't know, but I needed to vent it out. Update, my dad called today, 4 times. I did not want to talk to him, so I asked my husband if he could do it. I was genuinely afraid something had happened. My dad used 30 seconds on asking how we are. The conversation then immediately turned into him complaining about his now ex. When he started telling my husband about how he has already signed up for a dating site because now he needs to find a new girlfriend, he hung up. My dad called my grandmother and complained about how difficult I was being during his visit at the hospital because I didn't ask why he was so sad. I have blocked my dad from every possible contact and I will never let him near my family again. Comments. Commenter 1. Heartbreaking. I think the decision you made to ask for space was 100% justified and should have no time limit. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry for your loss. Why did your dad bring his ex-girlfriend? And why couldn't he suck it up for 24 hours to be there for his daughter? He sounds like a teenager. I would definitely take some space. Maybe write a letter and send it to him explaining why you don't want contact. Commenter 3. On the day of my mum's funeral my boyfriend found my cousin downstairs in tears. He comforted him, thinking he was upset about my mum. No, he was actually upset that he and his girlfriend of 3 months had broken up. Not because the woman who had taken him in and housed him when he was homeless, paid for him, gave him money and helped him fight a custody battle was dead in hellishly tragic circumstances, he was just sulking over his side piece. My boyfriend nearly punched him but didn't want to cause a scene. My point is, this man is a selfish asshole and you're better off without him. Take comfort in your husband and son and your dad can suck it. Commenter 4. Had your dad always been like this? Between how he behaved on the phone, and how he behaved at the hospital, your dad strikes me as a very selfish person. I think that you were well within your rights to tell your dad to leave and to not contact you. I'm sorry for your loss. Reply. We have a very strained relationship. When I lost my mom as a teenager, he also engulfed himself in grief and forgot to care for his 4 kids. I had to arrange my mom's funeral because he couldn't handle it. He never once asked how his kids were doing, never once checked in on us. Stories number 7. Woman stands in front of my apartment for 6 hours every day. No idea if anyone in the world will even see this, but this is a mystery my friends and neighbors are so invested in after a week of it occurring. I live in the downtown area of a major city. It is not strange to see an unhoused or mentally unwell person loitering or having some kind of episode outside, as unfortunate as this is. If this woman looked like that kind of case, none of us would be questioning it. However, for about a week now, a clearly housed and I believe even employed woman stands around our apartment for hours. During weekdays, she shows up around 5, which is why I think she is employed, and will stand in the garage entrance across from our building for up to past 10 p.m. Yesterday Saturday she showed up in the early afternoon, was there past dark, and she is outside right now as I type this. She'll occasionally walk down or around the block, but she always ends up back in that garage entrance. Now once again, if this was the usual crowd I see regularly on the streets, I wouldn't be questioning. But this woman always comes dressed and clean in new, clean clothes. Seems to have a job based on her hours. Has a purse, a cell phone, and at least a vape. Doesn't make a sound or anything. She's not disruptive at all. She just stands there and occasionally walks around the block. Does seem scared the time I approached her and asked if she was okay. I think she mumbled about living around here but walked off fast, clearly not wanting to continue any discussion or to clarify when I told her people are worried about her. Seems to be looking down the street in a certain direction regularly, like she's looking for someone. She checks her phone a lot too. Honestly, if you saw her without the context of knowing she's been there 5 hours, you'd think it was a woman waiting for her Uber. She does eventually seem to go home or somewhere, usually after 10 p.m. A few other things I've already discussed with friends or tried. She is not a sex worker. Or if she is, she's not a very good one, since she never leaves that garage spot for more than 5 minutes. She doesn't dress explicitly in any way either. I feel she's too calm to be on any drugs. If she's waiting to do some kind of exchange, I'm not sure what would have her waiting around 5 hours each day. If she truly just liked being outside and enjoying the fresh air, there are really nice, new benches in a really nice public area literally around the corner. But she chooses to stand in this garage instead. She only does quick checks on her phone, so it's not even like she gets lost in a mobile game or something. We have called local shelters and provided pictures. Nobody recognizes her. We have called crisis lines and non-emergency lines for welfare checks. We either get told that they can't do anything unless she comes to them, or that they will send someone to check on her and then just never do, or maybe they did and determined she was fine. She's out there all day, so it's not like I'm watching her every second. I dunno. Like I said, she doesn't cause any trouble, but we're all just worried she's having some kind of episode, but she could just also be strange. It's a little creepy because sometimes it feels like I've got a real NPC outside my place, but I know there's gotta be some legitimate story behind her. Edited with more details I remembered after typing. Lastly, one more edit. I have no intentions of talking further to this woman beyond a friendly wave hello when I pass. She clearly didn't wish to talk the last time I asked if she was okay, and I am going to respect that. There likely won't be any updates or answers to this since I have no intentions to pry further, whether out of her privacy in a sensitive situation or even a potentially dangerous one, such as a stalking scenario. I've been worried all this time, but comments did raise good points about stalking or undercover possibilities, so I will not be looking any further into it, both for her privacy and my safety. Some of the comments by OOP. If she is a stalker, this has crossed my mind. But if that were the case, why the garage entrance? Once again, there are very nice public benches like 20 feet away, and she doesn't seem to be hiding since she regularly walks around the block. She doesn't even sit down in the garage. She just stands there 5 to 6 hours. If she's watching from the garage, I'm not sure who she's watching for. The area she seems to look towards is an empty lot across from our building or a very steep hill you can't see down from there. If she is an undercover cop, I feel like this one's an interesting theory. I feel like the area she's looking towards is an empty lot where I think a lot of shady deals happen. Would a cop not come during work hours though? She seems to have some sort of 9 to 5 based on her patterns. If she is a ghost, have spoken with multiple neighbors in concern about her. Turns out they were aware of her before I was. Somebody says not to call shelters etc. and to leave her alone. I don't expect to solve any mystery by calling these lines. Me and my neighbors are just legitimately worried since our leading theory was some kind of psychosis. Respecting her privacy is the entire reason I don't know what's going on, because upon asking her a second time if she was okay, she really gave off the impression she didn't want to discuss it. Not to mention, you literally never know. If she is some dangerous stalker, who knows what she's got in that purse? Not saying that's the case, but it's certainly not impossible. I just want to clarify that the steps me and my neighbors have taken so far are out of concern, not curiosity. We see this woman outside looking kind of distressed for 5 hours every day, even past dark. That post did make me concerned. Maybe I crossed a line with my good intentions. I won't pry anymore, but I will at least give her friendly hellos when I pass in case they help her in any way. Hopefully she isn't a stalker or something like one of the leading theories here seems to be, but even if she is, I don't think giving someone a hello ever hurt anyone. Even if that is the more unfortunate case, I suppose it just makes her more aware people are aware of her regular presence. Update. I know some people were asking for an update and I was going to give it on Monday after I called the office she stands in the garage of, but I think the mystery is 98% solved as of today. First off, this has been kind of wild. It turns out people in the building next to me, hi if you see this again, found my post. They're just as curious as my building and apparently recognized the woman from my post. I've gotten some creepy and concerning details from them I planned on sharing here, but ultimately I think we've come to a conclusion. She's a sex worker. I know I said in my previous post that that option was off the table, but new information makes this almost certainly the answer. I had seen which direction she tends to walk off in, and once she even came back from it with a jacket, so I had some idea of what direction she lived. Today I went to a corner store that I go to very frequently. I asked one of the employees who is there daily if they recognized her, and he knew her right away. She has apparently come into their shop and done the same thing, just stood and did nothing for long periods of time. The difference with his experience though is she did speak to people. He told me she tried to flirt with them, the employees and the customers. Apparently this even worked on one customer and she went back with him to a nearby apartment, then later the same customer came back yelling at her about being a thief and robbing him. She's also been seen with 2 shady individuals whose descriptions are now matched by multiple people. She likely works with them and this garage is just her post, I guess. Her constant looking at her phone is probably her waiting for clients, and her disappearing for 10 to 30 minutes at a time is probably going to a client. I just never saw this as a possibility because she dresses so modestly, speaks so shyly, and never seemed to get picked up or approached. But I guess she's just visiting clients in the area, or maybe she has a spot she meets them. Who knows? The employees advised me to not approach her anymore since she's potentially dangerous and even more potentially connected to dangerous people. This is all just from one source and who knows how sketchy the man she supposedly robbed was, but I have warned my neighbors she has at least been accused of robbing someone. This news is as of only 2 hours ago or so, so I have no updates beyond that. My biggest concern was that she was in some kind of mental crisis, but that does not seem to be the case now. She likely does still need some kind of help, so my neighbor who is very involved and connected to resources in the city is going to be making some phone calls, but for now we all know it's best to not reach out to her. Just to address some things I feel like are gonna be asked/brought up. Yes, it's still weird she stands there for so long doing nothing. I'm certain, and so was the employee that she flirted with, that there's still something not completely mentally well with her. Police, crisis lines, helplines, pretty much everything has already been called by various neighbors by now. Nothing's come of it so far. Someone actually yelled at her the other day. I didn't witness this because I was out of town, but the neighbor who found my post was keeping me in the loop. They flat out told her she was creeping people out and asked her to stand anywhere else. She told him no before walking off, to which he yelled he was going to call the police. She came back the next day after being yelled at. According to Reddit neighbor, I still wasn't home, but since I got home Thursday, I haven't seen her. However, my neighbor saw her last night at 3 a.m., so maybe she's gotten wise to how many people are aware of her and is only moonlighting this area now. Only time will tell, I guess. Sorry if this was underwhelming, but most things in life are. On one hand, I'm glad she's not confused and having some kind of mental crisis, or that it's not a homeless situation, but on the other hand, not super thrilled to have a sex worker who has supposedly robbed someone outside my apartment regularly. Stories number 8. Aita for not going to my friend's wedding because his bride banned my wife. I think I have lost a friend. He was important to me and he has been in my life for years. We have been friends since past 15 years. He is getting married to his fiancée on this October. I was excited and I helped him with preparation like booking and stuff, and I even lent him money and paid on his behalf, and I asked him to not pay me back. Also, my ability to speak English is lacking, so do forgive me. His soon-to-be wife was kind to me and my wife and she would get along with her, but she asked me to not bring my wife to her wedding and she tells me to come alone. When I asked her why my wife is banned, she said that my wife is a show-off and she will show up wearing jewelries. I did ask her to not ban my wife and she will not show off, but his bride said that she doesn't trust her and she said, we are rich but they aren't and she doesn't want my wife beside her. I said if my wife is not invited then I won't attend their wedding either. Both of them are trying to convince with me, but my decision is absolutely clear. If my wife is not invited to their wedding or any occasion then I am not attending. My friend tries to convince me that he needs me by his side and I am like, if my wife is not invited then WTF am I supposed to do on his wedding? My wife doesn't know about this drama yet, but if she knew she would definitely get pissed and ask them to pay us back the money I lent them. Comments. Commenter. NTA. Your wife is your partner. Excluding her should also mean not expecting you to be there. Reply. If my wife is excluded from a wedding that I am partially paying for then I don't want to be part of it. Even if I didn't pay even a single dollar I wouldn't want to attend a wedding if I can't bring my wife with me. Stories number 9. I 33F told my boyfriend 33M that I'm no longer interested in marriage. I 33F met have been in a 10-year relationship with my boyfriend Carl 33M. After the first year of our relationship I made it very clear that I intended to be a wife someday. By the time I was 28 I started to remind him of my goals and expectations and Carl told me that while he knew he wanted to marry me he just wasn't ready yet and didn't like how I was pressuring him and called me controlling. Eventually we broke up, but 6 months later we got back together and even moved in. Looking back on it now, I realized that that wasn't the best decision, but I was so emotionally attached to this man and felt so invested that I was willing to go back to him. Carl and I have now been living together for 4 years and while I stopped being happy about it after the first 6 months, living with him isn't a bad experience. Plus I always thought that us getting married was just around the corner, because he said he was ready to commit to me but he wanted to wait for the right time because I deserved a perfect proposal and a more stable husband. I've been going to therapy for the past 2 years and recently had an epiphany. Since childhood I have always wanted a wedding but never really gave much thought to being a married woman 24/7 and what that would mean. Given my country's shift in politics and new laws that politicians are trying to pass, I realize that not only am I fine with never getting married but I'm starting to lean more into no longer possessing the desire to do it. Since then it feels like I've been set free in a way and started focusing on myself. One of the major things that I've done is tell Carl that I'll no longer assist with babysitting his nephews and niece and instead focus more of my time into getting certified in something to increase my earning potential and just relaxing. Carl seemed nonchalant about it at first but then said that we needed to have a sit-down when I sent Carl's mom and his brother a text that they had 3 weeks before I stopped helping out completely. Carl said that while he understands my desire for more personal time, it's important to be there and sacrifice for family. I told him that he could switch around his own work schedule and help with the kids since they're technically his family, and he said that the children love me and that one day they'd be my family too once we were man and wife. It was in that moment that I told him that I no longer desired marriage, and while I gave my reasons Carl still took it as me wanting to break up with him and or thinking that he would make a terrible husband. That is not the case at all, but he's starting to lash out and get suspicious and I just don't know what to do. How can I get my boyfriend to see that it's me not him? TLDR, I realize that I no longer want to get married and my boyfriend of 10 years is taking it as a personal strike against him. Ada has no consensus bot, OOP received mixed responses, but was leaning toward NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I am curious what Carl's mom and brother required your help with that you needed to give 3 weeks notice that you would no longer be helping with. Was it the niece and nephew's childcare or something more? Reply. Carl's brother has 50-50 custody of his children but childcare after school is expensive where we live, so his mom was initially watching the kids but it was getting to be too much, so I offered to help out and it's been that way for about 3 years. I don't feel right just quitting on something like this without notice and wanted to emotionally prepare the kids that they may not see me as often as before. Commenter 2. Given my country's shift in politics and new laws that politicians are trying to pass, I realize that not only am I fine with never getting married but I'm starting to lean more into no longer possessing the desire to do it. What does this mean? Reply. I live in America and in one of the southern states. There are some politicians who want to put in laws that I personally don't think would be for my benefit in regards to marriage, and if they're successful then I definitely never want to be married someone. Does OOP live close to her family or Carl's family for any additional support/help? Reply. We don't live close enough to my family for Carl to consistently offer any help on a regular basis. Downvoted commenter, YTA flat out. You string him along for 10 years with the goal to get married and now do a 180 without warning. Of course he gets suspicious. Also, you never said why he wasn't ready for marriage. Does he have financial problems? Mental health issues he wanted to work on before? Also it reads like you don't even see him as a partner anymore but as a roommate. You just pulled the rug under him. Of course it looks like a breakup. And I don't understand how people are defending you. You fucked up bad time. I would not be surprised at all if he packs his bags now and leaves. Reply, how was I string him along when he was the one who kept putting it off? Also what was there to warn him about? I can't speak for Carl as to why he never felt ready. I can only tell you what he told me. We've lived together for a couple years and he's never talked about having mental health or financial issues. I've noticed no change in his behavior either. I also made it very clear that while I no longer desired marriage I still wanted to be in the relationship. So I don't know where breakup would come up. Commenter 3, do the two of you want children? If not, there's no reason to get married. Reply, I don't know what to call it but I'm between wanting kids and being child-free. I could really go either way. Although given where I live in America right now I would not give birth in the state that I live in. Update, I 33F told my boyfriend 33M that I'm no longer interested in marriage. Hello everyone. Sorry for taking so long but a lot has happened and I ended up forgetting about this and focusing on other things. Then I saw a notification from a recent DM so I thought I'd give an update. TLDR, we broke up and live separately. For more details please continue reading below. Okay, so things were a little tense over the next few days because we were either fighting or just not talking to each other. He even moved into the spare bedroom one day and he stopped giving me money for his share of the streaming services that we both use and I technically pay for. I even but to mute his mama and brother for a little bit. Then once Valentine's Day was right around the corner he did a complete 180 and started speaking to me again and even apologized for his initial reaction and seemed really receptive to hearing my reasons. He told me he planned a special day for us the weekend after Valentine's Day which I was delighted to hear. On the day of I woke up to him gone but with breakfast laid out for me and a text message saying that there was work emergency and that he had to go in for a couple hours and told me to go meet him at the movie theater downtown by 3 p.m. I thought cool. I chilled for a bit then got ready and headed out. By 2:55 p.m. I sent him a text message asking where he was and responded by saying he accidentally typed the wrong time and that the movie wouldn't start until 5 p.m., and he meant was that he wouldn't be able to leave work until 3 p.m. He's had a case of fat fingers and butt dials before so I initially didn't think much and just decided to go walking around by outlet close by to kill time. Then I got another text saying that he'd change our online ticket reservations because he was still stuck at the office and to just chill until 7 p.m. This time I grew suspicious but instead of calling or texting back with questions I just gave him a thumbs and sent a selfie of me at one of my favorite stores, then started to drive back home. Normally getting back to our apartment from the downtown area where I was at around this time of day on a weekend can be a bit of a challenge but today traffic was decent. Then when I pull up to Complex I see a moving truck. No big deal. January/February is when a lot of people have moved out or in before so I understood. Why did I see some of Carl's friends near the truck? Why did I see some of Carl's friend moving the couch that I paid for into the truck? I called the police and told them that I was actively being robbed. I stayed in the car for a while trying to calm myself down until I saw Carl helping a man load my bookshelf into the back of his pickup truck. I got out and confronted him. This man was trying to keep me out of the apartment all day so he could quietly move out and take my furniture. And I say my furniture because I was the one who picked it all out and paid for most of everything and I readily shared the email confirmation order numbers/receipts that I had archived when the police showed up. The man tried to take my bookshelf because apparently Carl had sold it to him, but that wasn't my problem and that I'd press charges on everyone if my stuff wasn't back in my place. We got into a huge argument and the police tried to brush this off as a civil matter since Carl and I lived together but I went into the station the next day and spoke to a female officer who was of better help. My dining room set, spices, blender, groceries, lamps, TV, coffee table, and mattress were gone but Carl's friends did put back the couch which was a pull-out. The middleman between my landlord and me did speak to Carl about wanting to take his name off the lease but did not follow the proper protocol and confirming with me that I would take on full responsibility of rent so I did file a complaint. I ended up leaving the complex and moving somewhere else and pressed charges against Carl and his friends if only to create a paper trail and help in my civil case against my ex. In the end I was able to get some financial compensation for what I lost and he has until November to pay it all. I wasn't even sad that he didn't want to be with me anymore, just pissed off at how he tried to go about it. It is very clear that he wanted to punish me and I'm so glad that I never ended up marrying this man. I completed my certification, got a promotion and the pay raise that comes with it, and my dad has agreed to give me the money he was saving for my future wedding as a down payment for house. After this entire experience I am now 10 toes down in never getting married. Also as a side note, since Carl's brother couldn't provide consistent child care on his days, the mother filed for full custody and now Carl's brother pays child support. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so I was expecting that Carl found his person and is engaged and getting married soon. At your age, is delaying an engagement/marriage when you have been together that long and have your adult jobs is being comfortable in the relationship but not sure the other one is really the one. Becomes a habit? Reply, I don't know about marriage, but from what I was told by his mom, who I didn't ask, he does have a new girlfriend. So good luck to her. Commenter 2, my only question is, why did it take you so long, 10 years, if I remember correctly, to figure out this guy was a complete loser? Good for you. Better late than never. Reply, because I always idolized the idea of getting married, and just like I said in my original post, I developed an emotional attachment to my ex plus a little bit of the sunk cost mindset, but I know better now. Commenter 3, you dodged a nuke. What a world-class asshole. Robbing you on his way out. And you just know how much he enjoyed picturing you coming home to an empty place. You're getting the best revenge. A court judgment and living your best life. Commenter 4, ick, feels kinda suspicious. Who decides to wait 2 whole hours instead of going back home? Like what? Reply, I was shopping. Stories number 10. Aita for telling my sister that if she has a problem with how I'm raising her kid, she can raise her herself. I 19M live at home with my parents, my sister Ruth 24F, and her 1.5 years old daughter Scarlett, names changed for privacy reasons. Ruth isn't exactly the greatest mother. She does do whatever Ruth wants to do, and Scarlett's more of an afterthought for her. My parents and I are basically raising Scarlett at this point, and when Ruth decides she wants to be a mother, she gets involved. I don't love it, but I have taken on a lot of responsibilities with my niece because I want her to have the best life possible and positive influences to guide her. Yesterday morning, my niece was calling for me when she woke up from a nap. So I did the usual routine of changing her, reading to her, and then getting her a snack. About halfway through her snack, Ruth came downstairs. And when she noticed that I had given her bananas, she got mad. She said that I shouldn't feed her bananas because she'll just mush them into the highchair tray and it will be a bigger mess to clean up later. Said that it would make her life harder later and that I'm annoying. I told her that if she's got a problem with how I'm caring for and basically raising her child, then she can start looking after her herself. And that, let's face it, she probably wouldn't even be cleaning up the bananas later. She got mad and said that I have no right to judge her parenting and that I don't know how hard it is being a single parent. Aita for telling my sister that if she has a problem with how I'm raising her kid, she can raise her herself. Comments. Commenter 1. You have no right to judge her parenting. Which parenting? The one she avoids like the plague? NTA, but don't be naive, this situation is unstable for all of you because your sister is unstable. It's time to record and collect proof of her parenting because she seems like one of those people who weaponize their child. Commenter 2, NTA. And it's fine if a baby mashes food. It's part of development. They're exploring and they're not exactly eating with forks and knives. Honest to goodness. Thank God you and your parents are there. Reply, it's also her thing right now, she likes to mash up fistfuls of banana slices and share them with me. Usually I can sneak a few pieces into her mouth when she's distracted. Commenter 3, NTA. Anything a 1.5-year-old eats will be messy. Your sister shouldn't complain about free childcare as long as it's not dangerous or harmful. You sound like a good uncle stepping up for your niece. A lot of people your age wouldn't. That's another reason you're right to call out your sister for complaining. At 19 I wouldn't even babysit my stepsister, let alone a baby. Commenter 4, you should have said I do know what it's like being a single parent. I'm raising your kid for you. Reply, I taught Scarlett to say thank you. But at her current stage of speech it comes out sounding like F********* you, and I so wish she had said it at the moment. Stories number 11. Aita for saying if my wife wants to be a trad wife then she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when asked. I'm 35 and my wife is 40. We've been together 15 years. The last couple of years she's really fell down the trad wife black hole and it's driving me crazy. At first it started off with her saying she doesn't want to work anymore, and lately it has escalated to saying men who make their wives work are abusive. We both have well-paid jobs. I'm a self-employed builder with a team and earn around £100,000 a year. She works in management for the NHS and earns around £50,000 a year. We both work, I guess I should say work for her really hard, and have no kids, and 3 years ago managed to pay our mortgage off and lived in a nice enough area where I would have happily stayed forever. She however suddenly wanted a massive house that we didn't need. I should have saw what was coming. She was looking at £700,000 houses which would require a mortgage of £500,000 after we sold our house. I gave in and we bought a house. She then wanted a new car, which again I caved to, and she got a car that is worth more than she earns a year. She then decided she didn't want to work anymore. She said her job was crap, and I said take a lower paid one then that you'll enjoy more. She said no. She just doesn't want to work, full stop. She also doesn't want to give up anything she has. Over the past couple of years it has been obvious she is trying to lose her job without leaving, despite me saying that I can't afford the house and car and holidays on my own. She started bringing this trad wife crap up, but said she'd want to hire a cleaner as the house is too big for her to clean alone, and she prefers my cooking to hers, so I'll still do all the cooking. So I said you basically want to dress up pretty and bake the odd cake. She stormed off and said I don't get it. She again brought it up yesterday and I said fine, she can do it, but she's got to get up before me and make sure my breakfast is ready like in the videos she watches. She's got to be dressed as a sexy version of a 50s housewife like in the videos she watches from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close them. The house must be spotless at all times like in the videos she watches. I want huge packed lunches for work like in the videos she watches. I want to come home and have beautiful pies and cakes ready for pudding like in the videos she watches. I want a bath ran for when I get in and then come down to a proper meal every night like in the videos she watches. I then want a foot rub while I eat the cakes and pies she makes like in the videos she watches. I also want sex on demand, how I want it when I want it, like in the videos she watches. She called me abusive, a user, sexist etc. and stormed out to her equally delusional sister's house. Don't get me started on her. I'll be honest, I'm ready for divorce if this carries on. Comments. Commenter 1. At least you don't have kids, so divorce is easier. Probably best to do it while you're both still earning well so there's no question of alimony. Commenter 2. Get the divorce, mate. It'll be cheaper and less stressful than dealing with a crazy wife every minute of the day and night. It's not about the tradwife lifestyle, she simply doesn't want to work. She merely wants to sit on her backside, enjoy the things she has badgered you into paying for, and do nothing. There is a lot of this kind of crazy going around. It won't get any better either. What will it be next? Vacations on the French Riviera? A bigger, nicer, more expensive car? The list goes on and on. Reply, I am leaning this way, mate. I think a divorce is more likely than anything else at this moment in time. Luckily she's afraid of flying, so I've managed to avoid the expensive holidays apart from the odd Eurostar trip to Paris. She makes me feel like a 10-pound millionaire, though trying to be something we aren't. I know we are better off than most, but we don't earn footballers' money, which is what I think she aspires to. Commenter 3. You were crazy to agree to the $700K house. You'll be okay, but it makes things so much tougher. If she wanted that, why not save up with the old house and then work up to the new one and both of you work together? Reply, that's what I suggested. With my job we could have bought a cheese house, done it up and made some money and then moved upwards slowly and stayed debt-free. I have modified our house a bit and it's probably worth £800,000 now, but it's still not a nice feeling having such a big mortgage and knowing she wants me to cover it alone. Commenter 4. NTA, she's delusional. Serving her divorce papers should bring her out of this delusion. And isn't part of the trad wife concept that the man has the last word in disagreements? Reply, I think divorce is more or less a certainty now. Commenter 4. She doesn't want to be a trad wife, she wants to enjoy early retirement on someone else's dime. IF had a partner M like that too. He just stopped working and pretended to look for work while I paid everything, for years. He then told me I was sexist because if he had been a woman and I was a man, it would be normal, or so he claims. We don't have children either. Anyway, it got complicated, but I managed to end things and kick him out. Don't be like me and don't tolerate the lack of active participation in the household for even 1 minute, as it gets much harder and more expensive to end things later on. Reply, you are right, and I'll be honest, all I'm thinking about at the minute is just divorcing her and cutting losses before I really am left with nothing. It might also jolt her into reality when she has to work to survive. Update, Aita for saying if my wife want to be a tradwife she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when asked. No, my requests were not serious and I can't believe how many people thought they were. It was me trying to prove a point of how ridiculous she is being. Like I said in the comments, I don't want a maid or a slave, I want a partner. Before my wife got on this train, she was a very ambitious, career-driven person who wanted to climb to the top. She was never really on social media until the pandemic. The trad wife thing started a couple of years ago. A lot of people suggested couples counseling. I've asked many times and always get the same response: I don't need counseling, there's nothing wrong with me. On to the update. We spoke Saturday morning and I told her that I can't go on like this. I said to her bluntly, the trad wife thing is never happening, and she either accepts it and we go to couples counseling or we split up. I'm don't dancing around her bullshit. She chose to split up. I asked her if she even really wanted to be a trad wife or if she's just trying to force me away, like she's trying to force her job to sack her because she doesn't have the balls to quit herself. She said yes she does, and there's plenty of dating sites that cater to this dynamic. I told her I'd seen them and they are more sugar daddy dynamics, and without being horrible, she's too old for that. This set her off. She said I'm wrong and that I'm the one who can't support my wife, so I'm the bad one in the marriage and a real man would be able to give her the life she wants. She was shouting and screaming this at the top of her lungs. It's about the only time I've been glad to be in our new house so the neighbors didn't hear. I got a bit petty at the real man comment and said, you can't cook, you can't clean, and you don't have sex, what part of being a trad wife do you offer? I then stole a comment from my last post and said she doesn't want to be a trad wife, she wants to be a trophy wife. She just said I'm unbelievable and has gone to her sisters again. I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and start talking to a divorce lawyer to see what this entails. Then once this ball has got rolling, I'm fucking off to Portugal for a couple of weeks to myself. Comments. Commenter 1. She's 40 and in the UK where there isn't a conservative tradwife/trophy wife culture. She's going to be divorced and on benefits in a shitty bedsit. Take care of yourself OP, because she's intent on blowing up her life for some reason. Commenter 2. Trying to be a trad wife in the UK? Social media will destroy us all. Commenter 3. She wants to be a sugar baby at 40? Good luck with that. Update. I'm 35, my ex-wife is 40 and we have no kids. About 2.5 months ago I posted about my wife leaving me because I refused to live the tradwife lifestyle. In my original post I mentioned the big house and car she got me in debt for over £500,000 and then decided she didn't want to work anymore. Starting with the car. After she left I took half our savings and half the money in our joint account and put it in my own bank account. I told her to take the rest, around £60,000, and she can either pay off the car with the money or keep the money and I'll take the car back as it's in my name. She said neither, she's keeping both. This has been a struggle that ended with me having to ring the police to assist me in taking the car back. I got there and the police were already there. My ex was crying, the 2 police officers looked at me like I was a piece of shit, my sister-in-law was shouting, yeah, take her independence and go back to your mansion while she sleeps in the spare room, the neighbors were all out looking. I very nearly caved and told her to just keep it, but it's £1,500 a month I can't warrant. I took it, sold it, and had to pay £12,000 difference in what I owed on it. I'll be honest, I was expecting worse. Now the house. We paid £700,000 for it with 200 down. I've spent about 100 on it doing it up, and when I got valued I was pleasantly surprised at £1 million and even more surprised that within 2 weeks of it going on the market it sold to one of my neighbors. A lovely Indian family who had asked me to work on their house, but they said it's just easier to move into mine. They do however want me to build a granny annex on the side once they've completed the purchase. That'll be another couple of months yet, but we'll both walk away with around £250,000 each, and I'll be looking to buy a house for around £200,000, so I'll be back to mortgage-free and debt-free in a couple of months. On to my wife. She's still living at her sister's and as far as I'm aware hasn't found anyone who wants a 40-year-old tradwife who doesn't cook, clean, or have sex. She has asked me back twice but I've said no. One was a drunken proposition, the other one more heartfelt. It's too late now though. We've already started the divorce proceedings and that should be done early next year. All I've been doing is working and plodding along. Nothing else I really can do. I thought I'd update because I still get 10 to 20 messages a week asking how I'm doing and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Comments. Commenter 1. I love updates like these. Good luck and enjoy all the good that is coming your way. Commenter 2. She has no one to blame but herself. And maybe TikTok. Good for you. Better luck next wife. Commenter 3. The sad thing for the good women out there is there's a good chance Op won't want another wife or serious relationship. There are a lot of men like him that just never get serious again. So when a good woman asks where the good men are, the answer is the same as most of the good women, taken or not all that interested after being hurt. Reply. At this moment in time that is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking just stay alone and just get someone casual for going out for dinner or the cinema or to go on holiday with a couple of times a year. Commenter 4. I do feel sad. I'm mourning for the wife I had before the pandemic. She was amazing. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully. So my 16M mom 40s is a teacher at my school. Our school has a special elective you can take which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave 17M to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly both physically and emotionally since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspensions on his end but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school I haven't had to see him as much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why would she want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for kids who come from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things he had done to me and she said that she understands but he really needs help right now. I told her I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish and some kids have it harder than I can imagine and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me and she would not longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her and the minute I turned 18, I was moving out and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room and am not allowed out except dinner until I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18 and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming and crying and begging me to talk to her which makes me feel kind of bad but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed. Update, within same post. I'm sorry I stopped answering everyone's questions. I just kind of freaked out when this blew up out of nowhere and I almost deleted it a few times because I was scared someone at school would see it and recognize me. Everyone letting me know that it's not my fault helped a lot though so I felt less embarrassed about someone I know potentially seeing it. Nothing has really changed, but a lot of you made a good point that if I'm really going to go this route, then I need to come up with a plan for what I'm going to do when I get out. I considered the military like some people suggested, but then I remembered my school has a special trade program. You go to our school for half a day, then spend the other half at our local community college taking trade classes. I think depending on what you are doing you can get an associate's degree or whatever certifications you need by the time you graduate. I went to my guidance counselor during lunch today and told her I wanted to switch to that program. She acted really surprised and asked why did I want to change now since I'm already taking AP classes and am on the college track. I told her I didn't want to talk about it but I would need to be ready for independence when I graduated and this seemed like the best way. She said it might be too late to change this semester but she would look into it for me and let me know. Top/relevant comments. Commenter 1. I just read your update. The trades is actually a great way to go. You make money faster than a college graduate and you don't end up in massive student debt. Trades are also transferable to anywhere. You can literally move to any city and get a good paying job. You could even go to another country. It would open up a whole different world for you. Sounds like a smart plan. Have you chosen a particular trade? HVAC, plumbing, or electrician would be smart choices. Reply, thank you. From what she said, the first semester you do a little of everything and decide what you like, then choose from there. Honestly I'm not sure what they even offer yet, but I could see myself doing something like electrical. Commenter 3. Since the school already knows about the problem, have you considered talking to a trusted teacher or guidance counselor? I realize that these are her colleagues, however, I think they might be able to talk some sense into her. Her failing you reflects not only her inability to be a good parent, but also on skills she needs as a teacher. I don't think you should suffer in silence. Shame her if you have to. NTA, however, neither of your parents deserve to have a child. Reply, she got one of my teachers to pull me aside and try to convince me to forgive her. He said all that crap about only having one mom and whatnot. When he stopped talking I asked if he was done and just left the classroom. As for other teachers I don't really know who I could talk to. I'm a pretty quiet person and don't really form any close bonds with any of my teachers like some kids do. Commenter 4. Talk to a counselor. Tell them what happened and what a horrible person your mom is. Others at the school deserve to know what a piece of trash she is. Reply, I mean I could but I just feel everyone at the school already knows the situation by this point and the bullying was never taken seriously before, so why would this? I've had a lot of time to think about things recently and I think it mostly just comes down to everyone not really believing I can be a victim of bullying. I'm really not trying to victim blame or anything but I don't think most people would imagine me when they hear bully victim. I'm big, somewhat athletic and on the tennis team. I'm not popular by any means but I have a close group of friends who are all on my side BTW. I'm just really quiet by nature and am not good at conflict. I think all the adults see this and think well he isn't really a bully victim. Commenter 5. NTA. It seems like your mother rather than helping him improve, is learning how to bully you. Infor. Is your father not seeing the damage being done to your family by all this? Why is he okay with her being TA for your bully and is it more important than your well-being? It seems like they have more empathy towards that bully but not their own son. Frankly if I could I will surely go NC with such parents. They already know what they are doing is wrong but their superiority complex won't let them admit it. I don't think writing a letter will help your cause. Reply, my dad is kind of in the middle. He understands why I am upset but thinks I'm taking it too far by refusing to talk to her. I know he's tried talking my mom into dropping Dave but I think he just thinks it would be easier to control me than her. Commenter 6. Nta. The damage is done, hope your mother realizes she fucked it up. Commenter 7. In a few years, mom will post asking about why her son hates her, leaving most of the context out of the post. Commenter 8. Wait until OP gets married and has grandkids, boy, oh boy. Commenter 9. NTA. If my mother would have done that to me or one of my brothers we would have treated her like a traitor. She puts her savior complex or whatever this is over your mental health. She is in addition to that disloyal to your family you. Just ignore her and organize your life. Do good in school and leave her behind when you are old enough and independent. I cannot even compute how people do this to their own blood. But here we are. I wish you the best. Commenter 10. I couldn't figure out what was bugging me about this, it's the mom savior complex, you got it down perfectly. She wants to be the teacher who reformed her son's bully at the expense of her relationship with her son. Well, when it's finally shown she's a bad parent and he bails at 18 she'll get her recognition. Commenter 11. Charity is great when you make others suffer for it and you get all the credit. Final update, to everyone who said my mom was sleeping with Dave. You were right. Just kidding, y'all are weirdos and watch too much porn. A lot has actually happened since last week and while nothing is really fixed, I think things are going in the right direction. On Friday I got called out of class to the guidance counselor. When I got there, my mom and the assistant principal were there as well. The counselor asked me to sit down and said that me changing tracks from college to trade like I mentioned in my last post, was a big decision and she wanted to sit down with my mom and me to figure out if this really was the best for my future. She first asked me if I would fully explain why I wanted to switch. I explained the whole situation from my perspective and about how I was being punished. I said that if this is how I was going to be treated from now on, I wanted to become independent as soon as possible and going to college would have me relying on my parents for longer than I would like. She then asked my mom if she had anything she would like to add. My mom tried to downplay the whole situation at first and make it look like I was just being stubborn and disrespectful, but as the counselor asked her more questions, it became pretty clear that my side was truth. After this the AP stepped in and said that a teacher's aide was not worth all of this turmoil and that Dave would be switched with another teacher. The counselor then asked me if this would help me to start working things out with my mom. I said not really because it wasn't even her choice and she hasn't even admitted she's done anything wrong. She then asked my mom if she was willing to apologize for anything that had happened. My mom gave a half-hearted apology where she said things had gone overboard and she never meant to hurt me so much. The counselor asked if I would like to apologize for anything as well and I said not really, but nobody pressed me on it. The counselor then said about my transfer, it was too late for this semester. What she suggested is that my mom and I and possibly my dad should go to a family counselor for the rest of the semester. I would stay in my current classes, my parents would give me all my stuff back, and we could see if we can come to some kind of peace before next semester. She then asked my mom that if after that, I still had not changed my mind, would she accept the class changes. My mom said no at first because she wanted me to go to college, but I told her that she had already failed me as a mother once, please don't do it again. She got really quiet and said she would agree to it if that was what I really wanted. When I got home all my stuff was returned to me. I also started talking to my mom again. I just kind of felt like there wasn't a point to ignoring her anymore. I don't treat her like a mother or anything anymore, but I'll answer her if she asks me a question. It just feels like that now that I have a plan, a lot of my anger is gone and I just see her as a person who happens to live in my house. We haven't scheduled our first counseling session yet, but I don't see it changing much anyway. The damage is done, so I don't see myself changing my mind. That's pretty much it. I probably won't update again unless something crazy happens or something. Thank you to everyone who gave me good advice. Top/relevant comments. Commenter 1. Update us when you graduate or let us know how the trade route goes, or update us once you finish the semester. We're all here cheering you on. Honestly, I'm glad that you got your stuff back. But it's wild to me that it took your AP saying WTF. This isn't worth it to switch out Dave. I think your plan is good. The fact that your mom hasn't apologized speaks volumes. I won't count the half-assed apology. Commenter 2. Yes, I really don't understand his mom. What is her deal? What is her problem? What is her thought process? It's wild to me that after everything, she still can't see she needs to talk to her kid and explain where her head is at without denigrating her own child. I'm just flabbergasted. Commenter 3. Her hero complex is higher than being a parent. Commenter 4. Wow. That is a kick-ass counselor. I am impressed. Like, shit, I have to be the adult here, really? So, Mom, you are wrong. You were supposed to be a professional and you had to disappoint your own kid? Gross. You are off. Hey kid with potential, have your stuff back and please be a better person than your mom. Like me. LOL. Oh Pete, thanks for the update. I wished your mom was smarter. Your school counselor is awesome. Freaking by far, the best I ever heard of. And you should stick with your plans. I don't think there will be a counselor in college to put your parents in their places. I have read to many Reddits of parents threatening to not pay their kids' college. If you cut their wings sooner, perhaps you won't have to endure Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthdays being trapped with their plans. Commenter 5. I'm so sorry your mother isn't capable of seeing how she's hurting you. But at least it's a change for the better. Commenter 6. I still don't understand how a mother does not choose their own child. I would basically keep your mother at a distance until you get out of there and then go no contact. And I would include no contact with your dad too because he didn't have your back either. I hope the very best for you. You deserve so much more and parents who put their child first. I'm so sorry your parents have failed you. See ya. Commenter 7. I agree that until your mom sees that what she did was wrong and that she totally disregarded your feelings and disrespected you, not much will change and she can't expect it to just magically heal. Your mom has some serious soul searching to do. Stories number 13. I-21F set up a date between my two friends 29M/25F. Something went wrong that night and now my guy friend won't talk to me. I met my friend Chuck 29M about 1.5 years ago. We were both part of an online local group for single parents, and eventually met offline with other group parents. I have known Britt 25F since high school. Chuck's wife died of childbirth complications the day their daughter was born, more than 2 years ago. Britt is a few months out of a 9-year relationship. Both of them have expressed wanting to meet other people, and I thought they'd be good for each other because of common interests and we all have kids of similar ages. 2 days before Christmas, Chuck and Britt went out on their first date. I kept Chuck's daughter at my house so the two could have some more time together without him having to worry about the baby. The plan was for her to spend the night. She's done it before and gets along great with my 3-year-old girl, but Chuck knocked on my door at 11 p.m. to get his daughter. He barely said a word to me and I could tell he had been crying, but he wouldn't tell me what was wrong. The next day, I asked Britt what happened. She said that they had dinner and a couple drinks, things were going excellent. She said she felt like they had great chemistry and were even getting physical at his house, but he suddenly told her to stop and to leave immediately. She swears that she has no idea what she did wrong and is really hurt by the whole thing. I believe her because she is really sweet and social. I've never seen her do anything to piss anyone off. I tried to talk to Chuck at the same time to get his side of the story and see what went wrong. All he said that he wasn't feeling it and didn't want to discuss it further. I didn't push it, but when I went to wish him a Merry Christmas a day later, I saw he had deleted me from his social media. I texted it to him instead and asked you okay. But no response. I am seriously hurt and don't know what to do. Chuck has become one of my closest friends, and our daughters are the best of friends too. I am really worried that this has something to do with his wife, and I want to apologize if he felt like I was pressuring him to date after her death. At the same time, I don't want to overstep boundaries and bother him when he's having a hard time. It's been over a week and I'm worried/upset. TLDR, I set my two friends up on a date. Things were apparently going well until my guy friend suddenly called off the date. He has now deleted me from his social media and will not talk to me. Relevant comments/theories. Commenter 1. Chuck's daughter will be a constant reminder of his late wife. He still hasn't finished grieving and/or isn't ready to move on. Guilt about enjoying female company and getting physical contact will be huge. He would feel he has to hide emotions from his daughter about his late wife. He has locked them away and is doing the same thing now. Give him time and let him know you are there when he is ready. Reply. I completely agree with you, and will be giving him plenty of space for a while before I try to talk to him again. Thank you. We've actually talked about the constant reminder thing. Little Chuck looks exactly like his wife, and apparently it is getting harder instead of better because of that. I kind of feel like a jerk for being offended by him not speaking to me. I can't imagine that pain. Commenter 2. It sounds like he's not ready to be dating, and he's displacing that guilt on you as you were the one who set it up with completely good intentions and now he feels you're responsible for how he feels. My suggestion would be to wait it out. It could take some time, weeks or months. If you continue to contact him often it will only make it worse and push him away. I would let it clear, a couple weeks, and maybe once more reach out with an apology again saying your friendship and each other's daughter's friendship means a lot to you. If he cold shoulders you again, you need to move on. Unfortunately, life is a set of friendships that pass as our lives continue where they need to head. Reply. That's what my gut was telling me. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing enough. Hopefully he'll come around because I have gotten really attached to him and his kid. It would be so sad to never see them again. Commenter 3. He realized you consider him a friend. He clearly expected more. Edit. Someone mentioned that Chuck may be in love with me, but deleted the comment. I still want to address that. He's almost a full decade older than me, and has never expressed those feelings for me at all. In fact, the week before he cut me off, he said that I was a great friend and he was happy that his daughter had some female figures in her life. Commenter 4. I'm the one who mentioned he might be expecting romance with you, and I didn't deleted the comment, I got downvoted into oblivion. Edit. Someone mentioned that Chuck may be in love with me, but deleted the comment. I still want to address that. He's almost a full decade older than me, and has never expressed those feelings for me at all. In fact, the week before he cut me off, he said that I was a great friend and he was happy that his daughter had some female figures in her life. You mean, like a new mum? A great friend just need a little intimacy and mutual attraction to become a so, common interest, trust, respect are already there. Read the signs. Being a decade older never prevented men to be romantically interested in younger ladies. The fact you use it as a demonstration might indicate you don't want to see he may be into you while still mourning his wife. That's perfectly legit, but people feeling rejected might try stuff like dating your friend and/or cut relationship. I'd say the biggest problem with the sub is that it's always one-sided, and people sometimes can be not fully aware of the other people's signs and communication. It's still a theory. Edit 2. Thanks for all of your advice, everyone. I think I will give it another week before I speak with him again. If he hasn't reached out by then, I will tell him that I am still here if he needs to talk, but I will continue to give him space if he needs that, too. I am almost 100% sure that this happened because of his wife's death. Another one of my friends who is still on his Facebook saw that he had changed his cover photo several times since Christmas, and all of them were from his wedding. Update. Chuck finally contacted me 2 days ago. He apologized for unfriending me and not talking to me. As many of you said, he was embarrassed by what happened on the date and even angry at me for setting them up. She completely lied to me. He maintains that they went to dinner and had drinks, but then he says Brit got completely shit-faced and was trying to get him to have sex in the parking lot. When he said no, she got very aggressive to the point where he made her get out of the car and got her a cab. Once he knew she was gone, he went to my place to get his daughter and was so pissed at me he couldn't talk to me about it. Of course I apologized profusely and told him I didn't know that she was like that at all. He doesn't blame me and said I didn't need to be sorry. So we're cool now. I confronted Brit yesterday. All I said was that Chuck told me a different version of events. She started crying and admitted to everything all on her own. She asked if I could ever forgive her, and I said yes. But I'm not sure if I was telling the truth. I'm not sure if I should keep Brit as a friend. I am really disgusted by her behavior, and I know if the sexes were reversed, I would stay the hell away from her. TLDR, my friend Chuck cut contact with me because I set him up with a bad drunk. We're cool now though and I'm not sure what to do about Brit. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Wow, I've been waiting patiently for this update, but I definitely did not expect this. Sorry about your friend Brit, OP. I'm glad things between you and Chuck are okay now. Reply, me neither. I never would have guessed if he didn't tell me. Commenter 2, you could just distance yourself for a bit. If I were you, it will definitely depend on her actions from here on. Is she really apologetic? Has she sent a sincere apology to Chuck? If yes, I will still maintain a friendship, but maybe not hang out with her too much for a while. It's still pretty annoying that she acted so stupidly and then lied to you afterwards. What for, I don't know. As if you won't find out the truth sooner or later ___. But if she is a great friend otherwise, this is forgivable given time and good attitude on her part. At least now you know not to set her up anymore with any of your friends. Reply, totally with you on the lying. I'm super annoyed that this could have been solved way earlier with honest communication from everyone involved. She apologized for lying but not anything else. Just excuses about how she acts when she drinks too much. Uneasy face. Commenter 3, she got really aggressive. Make no mistake, that means she sexually assaulted him, regardless of how successful she was. In that context, his response makes total sense. I'd drop her. Edit, she apologized for lying but not anything else. Just excuses about how she acts when she drinks too much. Uneasy face, this is a quote from you in another comment. That means it's not the first time she's assaulted someone. Reply, this is a quote from you in another comment. That means it's not the first time she's assaulted someone. Holy shit. I don't know how I didn't catch that. Thank you. Commenter 4, I think perhaps before cutting Brit out of your life you should straight out ask Chuck if he felt she was rapey or just a pushy drunk. Did he have to physically force her out of the car? Lots of guys call women names and act like assholes when we refuse to have sex with them, but there is a huge difference between being a drunken jerk and a rapist. Did Chuck feel threatened by Brit or just offended and turned off by her? Chuck obviously doesn't want to go on a second date, but he may not feel you can't be friends with Brit. Reply, he felt threatened for sure. He said that the other day, and in hindsight I could feel it when he came to my house that night. He had been crying and didn't talk to anyone for weeks. Stories number 14. My stepmother is to selling a house I think my dad left to me. My dad passed back in January. After the funeral my stepmother told me that he didn't leave me anything, and since he died unexpectedly my dad had a heart attack. I guess it was believable to me that he didn't have a will in place, and I wasn't thinking about will anyways, as well as since I was told that if there was a will I'd get something in the mail, and since months went by and I didn't get anything, I didn't question it. My dad and stepmother were married for 3 years if that's relevant. Yesterday I got a piece of mail about property tax reassessment and I realized the address was another house my dad owned and used to rent out. I called my mom and she helped me to check the records online. I'm 22 and embarrassingly don't know anything about how all this works. When we checked we saw my name is on the title and it was added by a quitclaim, and my mom said that she's pretty sure it means the house belongs to whoever's name is on the title, and when I checked online that seemed right. Today I called my stepmother to tell her what I saw on the record site and to ask about the keys/accessing the house. She told me that because her and my dad were married that the house is community property by law, and after renovations are done it will be sold, and now I'm unsure what my rights are to the house and how to move forward. Are there steps I can take myself or do I need a lawyer? Also I'm assuming the flair for this would be real estate, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Comments. Commenter 1. Yes, you need a lawyer. I wouldn't believe anything your stepmother says. Commenter 2. Get a lawyer immediately, like Monday morning. Stepmom is moving fast because she's shady. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a will that she's suppressing. Take your mom or another older person with you to the lawyer's appointment if you need some support. Good luck. Commenter 3. I would get a lawyer because you might end up in a bit of a battle. But are you the only name on the title now? Because if so, then it is yours, so just get a locksmith and change the locks. Obviously stepmother won't be happy. But also stuff her, she was trying to stuff you. Stories number 15. My boyfriend went to lunch with a girl we met at a party the day after we met her. We were at a party the other day and there was a girl there that needed a ride home. We gave her a ride there and went up to her apartment to use her restroom. The next day I had to work, and he had the day off. I got home to find him sleeping and I asked what he did that day. He told me he slept all morning and then he went to lunch with the girl. I am fine with my boyfriend having friends that are girls, but this seemed extremely odd to me. I felt uncomfortable that they went for lunch without me because they hardly know each other. He said she asked him to breakfast but he didn't wake up in time, so instead they went to lunch. I didn't share my thoughts on the matter because I didn't want to start a fight as we were headed to a restaurant to celebrate my grandma's birthday. Now I'm not sure what to do or say. I feel uncomfortable about the whole situation. She made the effort to ask him to eat with her the next day and now they are Facebook friends, but she didn't request me on Facebook. She knows that we are in a relationship. It feels like I'm just overreacting. Comments. Commenter 1. Anecdote, but almost the same thing happened to me, and he left me for her. She 19 wasn't nearly as into him 26 as he was into her, and long story short he ended up homeless. Yay. Commenter 2. You're not overreacting. Say it plainly. I felt uneasy that you went to lunch one-on-one with someone we just met. I want transparency and for you to include me until this feels comfortable. Ask him to text you first next time or invite you along, and suggest the three of you grab coffee so you can meet her properly. If he minimizes your feelings or repeats the pattern, that is the red flag. Commenter 3. If my partner knew this girl before me and they were friends, sure go to lunch. If my partner met this girl after me and it was a work friend, sure go to lunch. But over my dead fucking body would we meet this person at the same time and they go to lunch without me? Absolutely the fuck not. So advice, talk with your partner. Don't keep this inside. Commenter 4. It seems he is being upfront with you. On the other hand, new friend reached out to him and didn't include you. She's on the prowl. Be upfront with him and let him know how this landed on you. Stories number 16. Aita for blocking my friend of 10 years after she committed a HIPAA violation against me. I 23F, blocked my longtime friend A, 23F of 10 years after she used her work computer to look up my health insurance information without my consent. The worst part is she took a photo of it, sent it through messages which her boyfriend of 1 year has access to. Some context, from my POV, her boyfriend is leeching off of her. She's spent thousands of dollars on dates, including a motorcycle that was impounded by police because he didn't bother getting his license or permit. He has used her credit card to buy drugs, has driven her car while intoxicated, and uses everything she owns, including her laptop that he uses to read all of her private conversations. I fear he is isolating her from everyone around her and it's working. When I saw the photo, she laughed it off, and I was scared but pissed. I asked her why she would do that and she said she was just curious. I asked her how stupid she could be, not knowing what HIPAA was if she works at a doctor's clinic. She never responded and left me on read, I assumed to run to our other friend B. No real apology or accountability. After 2 weeks, I blocked her. I confided in B and C about the situation. C was incredibly understanding, not understanding what possessed A to do this. B on the other hand loves to play devil's advocate and has always had animosity towards me. B said that A only had good intentions and that she was only being playful and trying to connect with me as a friend. I found BS and explained that if A wanted to connect with me, she could have been an adult and communicated with me, asking for permission before risking her job, committing a HIPAA violation and possibly leaking my information. I told B, what if my SSN was on there? What if A's boyfriend saw it as an opportunity to take credit cards out in my name? Days pass, B wants to hang out. I agree, but informed her that I had blocked A and that we were no longer friends. I told her that she and C were welcome to stay friends with A, but that I want to hang out separately. B leaves me on read and doesn't reply for days. When she does, she responds along the lines of, I'm sorry that I hurt you but that if you didn't want my opinion, you should have said so and next time, I'll keep it to myself. It's clear we both have very different opinions about things. IDK, it felt like she was pushing the blame back to me instead of taking accountability. This week, C and I were supposed to hang out. She flaked the first day, claiming she took an extra shift but then ghosted me completely the second time. After a few days, she apologized, and asked if I'm free this weekend. I said, depends, have you heard from B? She replied, yeah, I went out with her yesterday, why? Did you want to do something with all of us together? I realized that B who mentioned in her apology text that C mentioned a jewelry stand and that we should all go had gone with C to that same stand the day C and I were supposed to hang out. After B dropped C off, she texted me with the apology message. I've been trying to spend time with both only to be ghosted and left behind. I feel like they used the opportunity to discuss things behind my back. Now, I feel like I'm being iced out. I'm starting to feel like they're planning some intervention/ambush to get me to forgive A. The trust is gone and I feel hurt. I've tried being honest and setting boundaries but now I'm wondering if I'm being excluded for standing up for myself. Now I'm wondering, AITA for blocking A over this? And WIPTA if I distance myself from B and C too? Comments. Commenter 1. Please report her to her workplace. She obviously has no idea about medical confidentiality and she is incredibly unprofessional. Reply. Already did through my insurance. Commenter 2. NTA. Also report her with receipts of the violation to her workplace. Get new friends that don't think breaking privacy laws or fun ways to get to know someone is okay. You're better off without that entire group. But absolutely report A because that's an actionable consequence. Doesn't matter if she doesn't learn her lesson from it, what matters is she does it to no one else. Reply. Thank you. I already reported the violation to my insurance when calling to flag my account for any fraud alerts. Either the investigation is still ongoing or she got off with a warning, that I don't know. Reply. Commenter 2. I hope she'll get more than a warning, weary face, but good on your insurance company for taking action after your heads up. Reply. Yes, I'm very glad the woman helping me was very understanding. She and her supervisor took it very seriously, but I really do hope that it's more than a warning if she continues to work in healthcare. Update, AITA for blocking my friend of 10 years after she committed a HIPAA violation against me. A quick recap of my original post with new names. My best friend of 10 years, A is now Alice, used her work computer to look up my health insurance information, took a photo using her phone and sent me the screenshot through messages. Alice works at a doctor's clinic and her boyfriend has access to her messages via her laptop that he uses. After no sincere apology and no response from her, I blocked her. After explaining what happened to be is now Bella, who usually plays devil's advocate, dismissed my concerns, claiming Alice was just trying to be playful and was only trying to connect with me. I spoke to C is now Cassie, who was the only one who saw the absurdity and seriousness of it all. But after Cassie went out with Bella, one the days we were supposed to hang out, Cassie ghosted me out of nowhere. I was left feeling iced out, hurt and confused. There were a lot of questions, so here's some clarification. Update will be down below. Why did she look up my information and take a photo? I have been dealing with health issues that are progressively getting worse and I have no answers and had no decent doctor. I think she took it upon herself to try and help by looking up my health insurance information. When asked why, she texted she was curious. I know she had good intentions but I never gave her permission to look up my info or take a photo. If Alice had just asked me, I would have said no since I didn't want her jeopardizing her job. But also, if she would have only asked me, I would have let her know that I had already found a new doctor. Who did she send the photo to? As far as I know, just me. But her boyfriend uses her laptop and basically everything she owns. I believe he's read our conversations, which I had no clue until he brought up my health concerns that I confided in Alice, and has also sent me a few messages not clarifying it was him. So there was a very real possibility he saw the photo. More info, my SSN was not in the photo. I only said, what if it was? If it was, it would have been more serious. My name, address, birthday, and health insurance information was on there. Now for the update. After posting, I filed an official HIPAA complaint through the OCR website after many comments suggested it. I also reflected on this friend group and realized we had all been drifting apart for some time now. Even before the incident, Alice and I were growing apart. Bella started showing more signs of animosity and resentment here and there. But Cassie? We were actually growing closer, so when she started ghosting me, I was left hurt and confused. Later, Bella sent me a text inviting me to a group hangout with some of her friends, including Cassie but not Alice. I assumed this was an intervention disguised as a hangout to maybe mend things between Alice, but I can't be for certain. I replied that while I appreciated the thought, I was not comfortable hanging out and did not like how some things were handled or said, especially since Bella tried shifting the blame to me when she texted me an apology beforehand. I also said that I needed space to reevaluate some things, but I told her to have fun and to stay safe. She replied, wishing me the best, but if I needed anything she was going to be waiting for me while respecting my need for space. I haven't reached out since, but I've been thinking about it. Weeks passed and I was still stuck up on the situation. Misael got tired and finally asked me why I couldn't let it go. After taking some time to reflect on the reasons and my choices, I put my big girl pants on and made the decision to call. I called, got connected to the manager and explained what happened. I offered to email the screenshots and because of the small size of the clinic, they had to create a completely new email so I could send everything. The next day, I received an email explaining that the clinic would be starting their investigation days earlier than they initially said. Days passed, and I received a conclusion email giving me their thanks for having the courage to report and what they did. They put Alice on leave, and reviewed the logs for several days. They brought her in for an HR meeting and decided on training Alice with some HIPAA training and are putting in measures so that this will never happen again. I'm sure this is not the update many expected or hoped for. I did what many recommended but the decision was ultimately up to the clinic. I hope this was a wake-up call for Alice. I haven't heard anything from Alice, Bella and Cassie since. My thoughts are that Alice made a stupid and careless mistake that nearly costed her job and ended our friendship. She's always had the habit of making careless mistakes without thinking or caring about the consequences until they came. As for her boyfriend, I don't know him that well but I've seen red flags he's presented in person and from what Alice has told me. For why I didn't tell her, she's the type to not listen excuses about her relationship. Besides, I wouldn't be the first friend to drop her because of her behavior once she started dating her boyfriend. I also want to briefly say that when writing my original post, it was 4 a.m. and I was shaking with anxiety at the realization that I just lost my closest friends of a decade. I regret how messy it sounded with more gossip and ranting than actual facts of what happened and I apologize for that. I hope that this update shows that I actually took time to process things and approach it with more maturity than my first one. Thank you everyone who responded to my original post with advice, support and even criticism. I think the blunt comments calling me a doormat were the most helpful in helping me reflect about everything. I know it took me some time, but in the end, I called and got some closure. I think this whole situation pushed me to improve myself for the better, not just as a person but to be a better friend to the future friends I'll meet. Thanks for reading, and at this moment, it will probably be my only update unless something significant happens. Comments. Commenter 1. That's fair to do retraining and have the write-up in her folder. It's not something people in healthcare are supposed to do. I am sorry you lost friends out of the situation though. Reply. Thank you. But this situation taught me a lot and I hope I find better friends one day. Commenter 2, you did right by reporting the HIPAA violation. You were also right in realizing your friends were really no longer real friends anymore. You're at an age where big life changes happen and old friends often go by the wayside as we come to find others that are more closely aligned with where we see ourselves in the big scheme of things. You'll be fine. Keep the good memories and just let those women go their own ways. Reply. Thank you for this. It was hard since I knew them for so long but I saw the signs but didn't want to admit it to myself that we were all growing apart. Commenter 3, you're still mta. Happy to hear about it gave you a push to reflect on things. Maybe also seek therapy, not for what people usually might think, but for finding the glasses to recognize potential problematic people, and maybe the words to find out about unclear cases. I also had a time of big changes, some doubt. To me it helped then to take courses for e.g. new hobbies, further education, doing new to me things, not associated to any bad feelings/situations of the past. To prepare/learn in a way also for a better life-work balance. Work-related courses and certifications count too, just not too focused. To be for you is equally important, sometimes more important. Such courses can also help to find new people outside of work. Reply, thank you. I'll definitely be looking for a therapist once I can afford it. I've definitely been stuck in some sort of limbo because of the amount of stress this whole situation caused me. I'm looking to continue my studies once I get better, but I'm going to get back into my hobbies again. Commenter 4, long-time healthcare manager here. It wasn't a mistake. She willfully accessed your information. You absolutely did the correct thing reporting her. She is lucky she still has a job. We always fired people who did these things at my health system. Retraining would only be offered if it was an actual accident. She got off easy. Reply, she did. I think the clinic didn't want to risk anything by firing her since it's so small. But I can't say for certain. Stories number 17. My husband ghosted me. My 36F husband 37M and I were together for 10 years before we got married in late 2023. We moved together multiple times, far away from my family, for his jobs. We bought a house and adopted a rescue dog. He proposed in 2020, and 3 years later we had a beautiful wedding. 3 weeks after our wedding, I tragically lost my only sibling, my brother, who took his own life after years of struggle. Our life was immediately thrust into horrifying grief. I had PTSD, overwhelming anxiety, but I was going to therapy and doing the work. It certainly wasn't the ideal honeymoon phase for a newly married couple, but we were getting through it. Fast forward to April of this year. I am 1 week away from a scheduled major uterine surgery at the Mayo Clinic. It's a random Saturday, and he wakes me up and says he's leaving me. We have a confusing 5-minute conversation where he lists off all the reasons why he's been unhappy for years, despite marrying me with tears in his eyes. He claims it was all a mistake. I beg him to stay for surgery but he leaves without telling me where he's going. Up until this moment, he has never mentioned being unhappy in our life. I go through surgery alone, with help from my parents and friends, but not having him there was soul-crushing. It was supposed to be a 3-hour surgery but turned into 6 with complications. The recovery was about 6 weeks. The whole time, I was spiraling. Blaming myself, apologizing to him for my faults, asking if we could please talk, and he'd always say no. Then, it happened. I found evidence of his affair on social media. Turns out, he'd been involved with someone he met through work for at least 6 months aka, they started their relationship around my 1-year wedding anniversary, also the 1-year anniversary of my brother's death. When he left our home in Wisconsin, he drove 1,500 miles to Flagstaff, Arizona to be with her. She is also newly married, and 7 years younger than him. She also left her husband very out of the blue with no explanation. I ended up speaking to her husband and he confronted her, she denied everything. Said they're just friends. Not until I confronted my husband, and he admitted everything, did she finally come clean too. They would meet up on work trips, at conferences, when she was in town to work on his contracts, she stayed in a hotel down the street from our home. He took her to an Airbnb with our dog when I was out of town. Every piece of evidence I found was so disgusting that I threw up multiple times. Despite having all of this information, and my husband admitting it, he sticks to his story that it's all because he was unhappy for years and he made a mistake. This woman and this place are better for him. He doesn't want to live here his home state or be with me, or even have anything to do with his beloved dog. To make matters worse, when I started telling anyone and everyone what they did, the mistress attempted to legally claim I was harassing her. I had to get a lawyer to fight that on top of everything I was already dealing with. Moral of the story, you never know who you're sleeping next to. I thought my husband was a good man or I never would have married him. I don't know if he lost his mind or he was just really good at hiding his narcissism for all those years, but he showed his true colors. He now talks to his friends about her. They think he's molding this new woman into his ideal partner, sharing in his hobbies, carrying on the things he liked about our life, and that she doesn't question him. Edit to add, I have filed for divorce. He will hopefully be my ex-husband in a few months. Stories number 18. Aita for refusing to clean out my grandpa's house 25 years post-death. Aita for refusing to clean out my dead grandpa's house. Here's the story. My grandpa died when I was 15 years old, I am now 40 years old. My grandpa left his house to my aunt. His house is more of a permanent trailer, in a retirement community. My aunt has never been married, never had a serious boyfriend and has no kids. She is very sentimental. She has always made excuses as to why she won't clean out or sell his house. Her excuses have been, too busy at work, too busy hanging out with friends and she hasn't figured out what she wants to do with it. In the last 25 years, she has let the house rot. She's never slept in it, doesn't keep it up, but does pay the taxes and HOA. About 15 years ago, I offered over and over again to help her clean it out or fix it up. I didn't want money for it, just wanted to help her so that she could use the place. I am independently successful, so I don't want the money from the house. My aunt always refused to have me help her with the house. My husband even offered to, she said no. Since the house has been abandoned for so long, she mentioned to me about 5 years ago that animals have gotten into the house and there's animal poop throughout the home. She has done nothing to clean it up and now there's years and years of animal feces and maybe even dead animals inside. Fast forward to 2025, my mom passed away and I spent a grueling 3 weeks cleaning out my mom's house. It was rough. I have 3 kids and had to leave my family to clean out my mom's house. I told my aunt that I can clean out her house when she passes, but asked her to please take care of my grandpa's house herself. He's been dead for 25 years and I feel like it's unfair to have me clean that out too. Especially to have to clean out both her home and my grandpa's house while juggling my own family of 5. My aunt told me, "Oh, don't worry about that. It will be so easy for you and you probably will only have to move out a mattress or 2. This is false, as his house is full of his possessions. It also upset me that she seems to have always expected me to do the work. I did love my grandpa. But his house literally is a hazmat situation with the animal feces, broken pipes, non-functional AC and more." She hung up on me when I told her the house would require hazmat suits to clean it out. A week later, I texted my aunt and told her that it is her responsibility to take care of her father's house and not mine. That was 5 months ago and she has not replied to me. She normally texts me every week. I've been ghosted. My concern is near Thanksgiving and Christmas she is going to show up to my house and pretend everything is fine. What do I do? This aunt has been very controlling and manipulative my entire life. This is the only time I've ever stood up to her. Part of me just wants her out of my life forever. And part of me says it's family and I should just suck it up. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. After being abandoned for 25 years, I can't believe there'd be anything salvageable in it. Basically I would think you'd have to do the equivalent of putting the whole thing in a dumpster. Commenter 2, 25 years for an abandoned trailer. There really is nothing for you to clean out. When she dies, if you inherit the house, just get a wrecking crew to remove it and do with the land as you please, and if someone else inherits it, well then it's their problem. Commenter 3, why does anyone in your family need to clean it out? Sell it as is if it gets left to you, otherwise not your problem. I hate it when people do what your aunt has done. What a waste. Commenter 4, just wash your hands of the entire house situation. Pretend that it doesn't exist even after your aunt passes, hopefully she doesn't leave it to you. If she does for some reason if you can refuse it, if not just sell it for whatever you can get since you don't need the money. If your aunt shows up to Thanksgiving, be the bigger person and let her stay, but let her know that you aren't talking about grandpa's house and if she wants to she can leave. Oh yeah, obviously NTA. Stories number 19. Aita for refusing to babysit my nephews again for free. I'm 29F, child-free by choice. My sister Carlene is 27F, has 2 boys ages 3.5 and 2. We live close to each other and I've been in their lives since the beginning. We are each other's only family, we come from a broken and dysfunctional family. I love the boys but they are a lot of work, especially on top of my own career in social work and my personal reasons for not wanting kids of my own. I watch them /help out /babysit probably 10 to 20 hours a week currently, and it's getting exhausting. The times I've been needed have slowly increased and over the last 7-ish months it's been like this. At first it was Carlene looking for a part-time job, going to mandated courses to get unemployment, occasional movie nights with friends etc. which I was okay with. Now I spend most of my free time at their house. Lately the cause has been that her best friend's mom is dying and Carlene needs to be there. She's a single mom and I get that it's hard, but recently I feel like she's using me and I rarely see my fiancé as we both work shifts that change all the time. Sometimes when she's asked me to watch them and I've had some other plans, Carlene sends me a voice message of the boys crying, missing me, guilt-tripping me, saying it's such a shame I care more about myself than them. Telling me she would ask someone else if she had anyone else to ask. Saying really mean things about me being selfish for wanting to enjoy date night when she has to choose between her kids and her best friend's dying mom. I could handle if that's all it was, but now it's also affecting the next time we meet. When I get there, the house is a mess, there's nothing to eat and they happen to have a day for a shower/bath, or Carlene casually mentions I need to put together a gym bag or something similar for them for the next day. These weird, extra things that are obviously revenge. The first time this happened I assumed she'd be grateful I helped where I could, but it wouldn't be an issue if I didn't have time to do everything. I was quickly proven wrong. Before she got home she casually asked if I had done the extra things, and when I hadn't, not all anyway, she suddenly had to stay a little later. This happened a few times and I'm ashamed to admit it took me too long to understand what was happening. I was just glad she was updating me on her estimated arrival time. She usually never did that. Another thing she does for revenge, I feel like, could be my exhausted interpretation, is not prepare meals for the kids, or even leave money. When I go to the store she promises to pay me back, but, you guessed it, tries to guilt me into saying she doesn't have to pay. She's also not kept her word about some things she promised, saying she doesn't want to do things for me if I can't help her with the boys. The excuses and backtracking on stuff start immediately if I don't do exactly what she wants. The latest example, I asked to borrow a dress for a wedding because I didn't want to buy one and we had always borrowed each other's clothes, and she agreed. For days before the wedding I couldn't show up as fast as she wanted on a short notice, so she said I could forget about borrowing the dress. She'd forgotten she'd need it herself. I had to panic buy one. Last month she promised to pick me up after leaving my car for some maintenance and she didn't show up. I was stranded. Took her 5 hours to answer her phone and get there. She also had the audacity to huff and puff about how inconvenient it was she had to drive me. Sorry this is so long, but it's been mind-blowing writing this all down and seeing what I'm putting up with. I'm such a doormat. So yesterday I told her I couldn't come today when she called desperately needing me to watch the boys for the evening, and when she started her tirade of me being selfish I kind of just snapped. I told her to shut up and listen. If she thought I was that horrible of a human and so selfish, she had two options. Either stop relying on me so much and letting her kids be exposed to my selfishness, or I'll really start being selfish and will not watch them free of charge ever again, never do anything extra without being compensated. She hung up without saying anything. After I had stopped shaking, I hate confrontation, as you can imagine. I started to really panic as I feel like I just lost my last remaining family member. My fiancé said it was long time coming and I should have stood up for myself ages ago, but he's biased as he loves me. I don't really have time for proper friends outside work colleagues, so I don't know who else to ask if I made the biggest mistake of my life. What if I don't see my nephews again? What if I had just done it a bit longer and she'd eased a bit? Aita for telling her to choose between my options. ETA, my two examples seem like I ask her or need her for stuff often, which I don't. The promises she breaks can be just as simple as having food for the boys for when I'm with them. The dress and leaving me without a ride are just specific events that were easier to explain, but I quickly realized it's not accurate. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your sister is extremely irresponsible and selfish to the core. Is she receiving child support from the father of her children? If so, she should budget for daycare and babysitting. If not, she should pursue legal action. Having kids is a full-time responsibility and she needs to accept this fact. NTA. Reply, I don't actually know that much about her finances, we don't really talk I guess. I don't particularly like her as a person. My nephews are the only thing that keep me going back, in addition to the weird obligation I feel for the little family I have left. Commenter 2, NTA. Stop taking her calls. Stand up for yourself. And if you think the boys are in a not great home, abuse, neglect, no food, call CPS. Reply, I'm a mandated reporter due to my profession and I've been trying to distance myself from the situation to assess if I need to make the report, but it's always so subtle and she knows what to avoid doing and saying due to growing up with CPS. Commenter 3, where is the kid's father? He should be involved. Reply, I don't actually know. She got irrationally angry. I asked about him when she was pregnant and I left it at that. Commenter 4, you know that not seeing your nephews again is never going to happen. Your selfish sister has been taking advantage of you for too long, and to her, your standing up for yourself is just a temporary setback in her manipulations. The only way her behavior is going to change is when yours changes. You need to set some clear boundaries and follow them with solid expectations of how you expect her to treat you. For example, guilt-tripping, name-calling, accusations, etc. are to end. If she tries any of these manipulative tactics, there will be clear consequences. And you need to follow through. If you tell her you can't babysit and she starts the guilt, you tell her something like no babysitting for a month because of her behavior. Altering your behavior is the only way you can change hers. Oh, and all those times she needs to comfort her friend with the dying mother, you realize those are just BS. She wants free from kids' time and is just trying to play on your empathy. Your sister is a class A asshole. Reply, thank you. I feel so stupid, I only thought about the friend's mom thing being BS like last week. I asked see how she was doing and she took a second too long to remember what I was talking about. Commenter 5, what has your sister done for you in the last year? It sounds like you are a doormat. None of what you said sounds unreasonable. You need to put boundaries now or it will get worse. I imagine you want to start a family with your fiancé at some point, you cannot keep this up. NTA. Reply, I'm not even wanting a family of my own, no pets nor kids. Regardless, I want to live for myself. She has allowed me to see the boys, that's mostly it. I couldn't imagine not being in their lives. Additional information from OOP after reading comments. Thanks for all the replies, there's been so many helpful ones already. I've tried to at least answer all questions. I just have to plan out the boundaries and then practice how to set them and maybe even write down answers for the rebuttals I know she'll have. For those worried about my fiancé, he's a quiet, steady rock for me, he's been somewhat enjoying his gaming time without me around, so I hope he hasn't suffered too much. I'll focus on communicating with him better too. We're getting married in summer of 26, so we'll have to focus on us. Update 1. TLDR, my 29F sister Carlene 27F has 2 boys 3.5 and 2 and Carlene uses me as a free babysitter almost every day. It's gotten worse with her name calling me if I have other plans and her punishing me and the kids next time by leaving the house messy and not preparing food, only coming home after I've done what she demanded: clean, cook, bath time, etc. I finally told her I can't do this anymore and made her choose to either go low contact or agree to my terms watching the boys in the future. Update, a lot has happened. I'm trying to write concisely. During the first 24h after me telling her that ultimatum, I decided not to answer her calls or texts to let her cool down. She called 77 times, sent over 100 texts and voice messages. They're mostly just her calling me a horrible person who abandons her family. I outlined a few rules with my fiancé's help for the future if she comes to her senses and agrees to my terms. I wanted them to be ready even though it looked like she will never come around. I had conditions like I could watch them up to 3 times in 2 weeks, not more than 4 hours at a time. Meals needed to be provided. No bath time or bedtime. I'm not spending any money. I got messages from an unknown number. Fiancé says it's an app or something saying how horrible of a sister I am because now they have to watch their mom die alone without Carlene there to comfort them. Based on the suspicions I had earlier and the language similarities, I think this was my sister pretending to be her friend. I talked to my supervisor on Friday afternoon and asked for her opinion. I first asked if it was okay to talk about personal stuff and she was great about it. I don't work with children and CPS has never been a part of my work, so I wanted to double check with someone more senior. We made a report together on Carlene. The supervisor said it's better to do so, especially now that it's escalated and she might retaliate against me by hurting the boys in some way, as she's obviously not above that. I'm probably going to give her next week to cool off before resuming contact, and depending on what the messages/voice messages say then, I might contact her. If they are as abusive as now, I probably won't respond at all. It makes me unbelievably upset, but I hope the boys will also get a more stable environment without me, as she's using them as pawns with me. Fiancé says hello and wants everyone to know he's here for me and wants to assure everyone I'm not really that bad of a doormat, just for Carlene for some reason. I'm looking into counseling through my work, it's too expensive out of pocket. Thanks for the messages and the shift kicks I obviously needed. For some reason I've become blind to my sister's behavior and was only concerned whether I'd lose the boys from my life. Probably will update when/if I resume contact with my sister if people want to know how it goes. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA bit I suggest you and your fiancé have a discussion about whether or not you would take custody of the kids if it came to that. Your sister sounds like she may land herself in jail or decide to abandon her kids. It's better to be prepared for any possible outcomes, including CPS removing them from her care. Reply, oh wow, true. We definitely don't want kids, but if the option is foster care for them, we might have to take them in. We'll talk to my fiancé as soon as he gets home from work. Commenter 2, is there a reason the father of these children isn't helping to take care of them? I can't imagine expecting a family member to step in and handle a significant portion of the parenting of my own children. If she wasn't prepared to be a parent, she shouldn't have had 2 children. Reply, she got really angry at me when I asked about their dad/s whenever she was pregnant, and I just left it at that. She hasn't had a long-term boyfriend since high school as far as I know. I don't even know if the kids have a same dad, I kind of doubt it due to their differences in skin shade and features. Commenter 3, stand your ground, OP. And I hope you can get counseling through work. If anything, check with local churches, some have counseling and other services offered. I hope things work out for you. I understand if you have to go and see with her though. Commenter 4, I hope you have been keeping all the nasty messages. Because you do need to make sure that you have evidence. Your sister is neurotic and abusive. She brought those kids to this world and it's her fault. She is a single mother who is trying to shirk her duties on someone else, because she is lazy and wants to be a 21-year-old. Well, sorry, but she can't have that. She is responsible for those kids. Not you. Additional information from OOP. Reply, it's only Wednesday and I just blocked her. I don't understand when she sleeps. I've been getting messages/calls every 2 to 4 hours since last week. I'm crying because it feels like I'm shutting my nephews out, but this is exhausting. My fiancé has been checking the messages twice a day, making sure there's nothing important in between. I haven't read any of them. It's just her calling me names and cursing at this point, not even coherent sentences. Nothing on the CPS report yet. Update, boring update, but my fiancé unblocked Carlene for a few hours to see if she was still messaging abusive stuff. She was. Nothing new there. CPS called and asked for more info, which I provided. They wanted to know specific dates and whether I had proof, and I sent them a lot of screenshots of messages with Carlene. I chose to make the report with my name on it as I felt like it added credibility. And it also kind of felt like a punishment for me to use my name, especially after waiting so long to make the report, meaning my sister could now also know for sure it was me who made the report and I'd face the consequences for it. I've had one Zoom appointment with a psychologist through my work. It's been great so far and I already got homework on boundaries. Seems fast, but she said they're trained to move quickly as we are usually provided 5 visits and there should be progress in that time. I haven't heard from Carlene or the kids other than the abusive messages. I'm ashamed to say I've driven by the house a couple of times just to see if everything looks normal, and it does. I had a talk with my fiancé after a commenter suggested the kids might need to be removed from Carlene and if we were planning on fostering/whatever if it came to that. We aren't. We don't want kids and have known that from the beginning. The day-to-day life as a family with kids sounds absolutely horrible, to be honest. There's nothing that appeals to us. We don't even want pets. We would become resentful and probably would lose ourselves in the process if we went there. I don't know how much there is to update after this, maybe if the contact resumes, but honestly I'm afraid to send her anything as she's just insulting me. I don't think she'd even really read what I wrote if I tried. Update 3. Today was my birthday, I'm 30, yay, and I just had an ordinary work day. When I got home my sister was waiting for me. Fiancé wasn't home yet. Carlene congratulated me and actually seemed normal at first, but when I couldn't behave like I normally would, attentive, asking how I could help her etc., she got irritated. She said she'd known I never loved the boys and was only jealous I didn't have kids. I tried to make them love me more and then I'd falsify reports to CPS and get custody. I actually kind of laughed, it was so ridiculous. I told her I don't even want kids and wouldn't take hers even if they were offered. Might have been a cruel thing to say, but I'm just so tired. She somehow got angrier and saying how horrible the boys will now feel knowing I'd abandoned them and proving I didn't love them. I knew I couldn't win with her, so I just asked why she was here and where the kids were. Carlene said their whereabouts were none of my business, fair enough, and she was here to tell me I'd never see them again. I'd accepted that as a possibility or even probable, so I didn't really react, which made her even angrier. She tried to grab me, but I'd stood about 6 feet away so she couldn't reach me, and I just ran inside the building and closed the door behind me. Luckily it locks automatically. She followed, so I shouted through the door that I would call the police if she didn't leave. She kicked the door and left without saying anything. I went to our apartment and sat on the floor. My hands were shaking so I couldn't write, but I made a voice recording on my phone on everything in case I need to contact the police or a lawyer or something. After around 20 minutes just breathing, the door lock rattled and I got really scared until I understood it was my fiancé getting home from work. I was still on the floor, so he obviously freaked out. I told him everything and he said we should make a police report and also update the CPS people about Carlene's irregular behavior. I still feel weirded out reporting her because we endured much worse as kids and don't think anyone reported our parents, but my fiancé asked if I would make this report at work if it was someone else's family. I said it's not fair as I don't work with kids for this exact reason, but I guess I'd report it. It's getting late and I can't sleep, worrying about making the police report tomorrow and wondering what to tell the CPS. I guess I'll explain the whole thing and they decide what's relevant. Oh, CPS let us know on Monday. I think that my sister is under investigation and they gave me the contact info for their caseworker, so at least that report will be easy to make. Update. Sorry it took a while but I've been trying to keep busy taking extra shifts at work as I miss the boys. I haven't heard from them at all since my sister kicked at our door. CPS has been in contact a few times, but as we let them know we wouldn't be willing to take the boys unless absolutely necessary, not even for a short foster placement, they haven't been telling us as much about their situation. It feels like we don't know much anymore, but I guess we're outsiders now so I get it. The family court date is set for next month and we're debating whether to ask if we can go, but I honestly think they wouldn't allow it now as we have nothing to do with the solution. I don't know whether we would have been able to attend even if we agreed to foster them. Usually the family courts here are quite closed. As far as the boys go, I've accepted I'll probably never see them again. I wish that if I can keep tabs on them I can reintroduce myself when they're 10 years or so older and have their own phones etc. It's far away but I have to have something to look forward to. CPS is actively still investigating. Until they stopped telling us anything it sounded quite sure that at least a short foster placement was needed. My sister failed to show up to mandatory meetings, wasn't available when they tried to reach out to her, and at least once Carlene arrived at the house without the kids just as the CPS came by, and they realized the kids had been home alone for the time Carlene was gone. They contacted me to ask if I knew where my sister was and for how long, but I had stopped talking to her at that point. Carlene said she just dropped off something the street over so she was gone for less than 3 minutes. I don't know if I believe that, and the CPS didn't think so either. The reason we don't want the boys is mainly our health. I have a chronic illness and my fiancé is in a wheelchair. We live in a one-bedroom apartment and having the boys' beds and stuff would make it inaccessible for a wheelchair, and that's just not okay. In addition, we just don't want kids at all. I don't think I'd be a great parent and can't expect my fiancé to parent either as he didn't sign up for it either. I hope the boys are small enough so that they are easy to place, whether temporarily or permanently. It breaks my heart but at the same time I just can't do it. Thanks for the well wishes and ask me if you have any questions. Stories number 20. My abusive father wants to reconcile with my sister because she's pregnant and he wants to be a part of the child's life. Aita, for I won't let him go near her. Hi, my name is Chad, I'm 20 years old. I guess I'll start by saying my father abused me and my 4 siblings verbally, mentally and physically. For as long as I can remember, I've been the oldest son, but I have a sister who is 23, let's call her M. M was the only one who got out of the family after my father threw her out at 20 because she didn't give my father enough money. Her salary was $1,200 a month. She put $1,000 on the table every month. Now that she's moved out, she's cut off contact with my father. But since my father found out from one of my aunts that my sister was pregnant, my father is trying to make up with her, and since I am the only one who keeps in touch with my sister, he's trying to make up with my sister through me. But I immediately told my sister that my father wants to make up with her. My sister asked me to keep my father away from them because she doesn't want her child to be a part of his life. That same day, I sat down to talk to my father and told him that my sister doesn't want to make up and that he should keep respect. Then my father started to put my sister down for everything. He said that my sister was an ungrateful B*TCH and that she didn't decide, he had rights as a grandparent. Then I lost my cool and told him what I wanted. I started to yell at him that I wouldn't let my godchild have the same childhood as us and that if my sister wasn't pregnant, I wouldn't care if she was dead because my father didn't even ask about her for 3 years, even though he knew that I was in contact with her and that we talked every day. And now the whole close family blaming me because I wouldn't let my father near my sister, and they say that I'm a heartless animal because supposedly my father has changed, but this is partly true because he doesn't hit our little siblings, but he still has anger issues and he breaks and crushes the furniture in the house when he's upset. So Aita, for I don't want to make peace between them and I respect my sister's request. Stories number 21. Aita, for breaking up with my girlfriend after she complained about the $800 necklace I got her. So I 19M had been dating my GF 18F for about 8 months. Her birthday was last week and I saved up for like 2 months working extra shifts at my job to get her this really nice gold necklace with her birthstone. Cost me $800, which is basically all my savings. When I gave it to her, she opened the box and her face just dropped. She said, "Oh, it's jewelry," in this really flat voice. Then she goes, "I thought you knew I don't really wear gold, I'm more of a silver person." I was crushed NGL. Like I spent weeks picking this out, went to 3 different jewelry stores, even asked her best friend for advice who apparently sucks at giving advice BTW. But then she says, "Couldn't you have gotten me something more practical? Like maybe helped with my textbooks or something?" That's when I kinda lost it. I told her if she couldn't appreciate the thought and effort I put in, then maybe we weren't right for each other. She started crying saying I was overreacting and that she was just being honest. Her friends are now blowing up my phone saying I'm a massive and that she was just communicating her preferences and that I should have known after 8 months what she likes. My boys are saying she's ungrateful and I dodged a bullet. But maybe I did overreact. I just felt like after all that effort, a simple thank you would have been nice even if it wasn't her style. Stories number 22. Entitled Lady refuses to pick up dog poop after her dog shits in people's yards. I accept her challenge. I live in a fairly large city with a lot of good dog owners. But every so often we get people, especially right after the pandemic, that are assholes about picking up after their pups. I have a security cam that faces the area where people like to let their dogs piss. I'm never around at that time of day, but I can see who's letting their dogs do what in my yard at all times. One lady let her dog shit in the sidewalk area of yard every day. Never picked it up. I posted on the neighborhood network, no response. Signs asking people to pick up the dog shit did nothing. My neighbor saying, pick up your dog shit, lady. Did nothing. She still let her dog shit in my yard, right in front of my wife's car. Every day. Like clockwork. She told my neighbor once that she didn't have time, because she had to walk her dog before she went to work. My neighbor said, that's super rude not to pick up after your dog. She said, what are you going to do about it? And walked off. My neighbor, being the kind woman she is, picked up the dog poop and threw it away for me. And then she told me later that day about Pooper Lady and her very rude interaction. Now, we had a dog not too long ago. Which is sort of an understatement. We had a 250 pounds doofus Maximus who loved people, loved dogs, loved cats, loved kids. He was super friendly to everyone and we left a doggy treat library up in his memory when he passed 2 years ago of old age. His passing broke me, but the one thing that I learned is exactly how horrible our yard was even before a human-sized dog used it as a lavatory every day. I've spent some time fixing the lawn by replacing the grass with nitrogen-absorbing plants like microclover and other xeriscape lawn replacement plants that are highly resistant to dog urine, because we do intend to get another dog someday. My old boy, when he shit in the yard, took massive dumps that would reach 5 to 6 in height if he stayed in one place. I had a scoop shovel and a 14-gallon bucket half filled with sawdust like an elephant trainer and would go around the yard every day to pick all of it up. When we went for walks, even when he was a wee 90-pound puppy at 4 months old, I took grocery bags with plenty of poop bags with me on walks because he would poop multiple times and I preferred not to have our neighbors think a homeless person shat on their lawn after we went by. When he passed I put a little free dog treat library along with free poop bags for the local pups and their parents, because, well, we had a supply. He ate as much food a day as the average teenage boy, and loved donuts as much as Homer Simpson. Asparagus, oranges, and the doggy bits from steak. Oh yeah. Plus, a dog treat the size of a hand was just normal sized for him. The upshot is that what we had on hand when he passed is roughly 8x the normal amount a dog parent would have. And I didn't want it to go to waste, so we provided it for free until it ran out. I even have a small bucket nearby labeled if you have dog poop bags, please drop them here. Because the raging debate of whether it's rude to drop tied-off dog shit bags in a nearby garbage can rages on the next-door lists every year, along with the fireworks conversation that starts around July 2nd and continues for the next 2 weeks. The point is that there was absolutely no fucking excuse here. On top of that, I had previously met this lady and her dog when I was walking my old boy around the block. She is one of those people who walk their dog while surfing their phone and plugged into a podcast or call at all times. And her dog is one of those long-haired fluffy dogs that look like they've been run into a wall multiple times head first. It's also an asshole, and is aggressive towards other dogs, even ones roughly 20 times its size. Every time we met walking, she barely registered her dog trying to bite mine until I would yell curb your dog lady and blocked it bodily. So, poop bags available. Notices. Neighbors saying knock that shit off. Pooper Lady Karen doing Pooper Lady Karen things with muffin paws the asshole shitser. Fine. We can play that game. I started my research by checking my house security camera. She was always there between 8:02 and 8:03. Religiously. On the dot. Every workday. Every time. Never on the weekends, and never after 8:04 a.m. She was always dressed in very nice business casual with expensive shoes and a purse or sling bag, but never with poop bags. I set up one of my Rainpoint Wi-Fi enabled automatic sprinkler hose bib things, and connected two high-volume, highly visible water sprayers for that grassy area. One on each side, one facing the sidewalk from my house with some overlap to the sidewalk strip set to a 180-degree semicircle, one in the sidewalk strip facing the house, set to the same dispersal pattern. The nice thing about Rainpoint is that it's hooked into your house Wi-Fi and you can control it anywhere, anytime, just by pressing a button widget on your phone. You can also set up automatic watering timers and hook it into weather/soil moisture systems, but the fact that you can set it off remotely is more important here. I set the timer to go off at 8:03 exactly and spray for 10 minutes on full blast. And by full blast, I mean I made sure to close off all other hoses and not start the dishwasher or laundry before I left for the day at 7 a.m., so the full experience of 15 GPM water pressure could be enjoyed by all. The next morning, I turned on my remote viewing of my security camera at work. Here she comes, dressed more nicely than usual in her business casual, walking her aggro asshole dust mop of a dog, face in the phone, earbuds plugged in, volume up. The dust mop angles his way towards the same spot she always lets him shit, starts to squat, and then dual sprays of ice-cold water catch her dog in the face, and her at the waist. Full blast. The one from the house started first, the one in the sidewalk strip started 10 seconds later. She stood there screaming on the security cam for 30 seconds, then stormed across the grass to pick up her dog, who, at this point, has been turned from a fluffy ball of perfectly groomed dog to a filthy wet mop with extra dirt and powdered steer manure compost. And as she turns to storm away with her dog, she slips on the fresh dog shit that her dog had just dropped. And that was now getting sprayed with water at 15 GPM. She lands on fresh microclover that had been lovingly fertilized with composted steer manure from our family farm the day before, so she doesn't get injured, but when she gets up her very expensive business casual outfit is caked with dog shit, fresh green stains and steer manure. Karen exits stage left, screaming. I start laughing so hard my boss has to come out to ask what's the matter. I kept a Nextdoor tab up in my browser all day set to check for new posts from my specific neighborhood with keywords. I was not disappointed. About an hour later I saw a Nextdoor post talking about how horrible people start their watering during the time people are walking their dogs. Yep, it's her. Someone replies to her thread saying maybe just walk a different way. Or go a little later. Arg, you don't understand, my dog is soaking wet and it ruined his grooming session for the week, now I have to get him in and get him cleaned up after work. Well, thank you for the heads up, pooper lady. The next morning I tuned into my security cam at work and had the smart timer widget up. I tested it the day before remotely and made sure the lag time was minimal on both the camera and the sprinklers. Sure enough, here comes the pooper and his mistress, right on time. She is dressed up in business wear complete with heels and a full suit today. Which, you know, might be a bad choice. To her credit, she is a bit leery of the yard, but she is checking her watch and watching the sprinkler. The dog starts to squat right at 8:26 a.m. I hit the button. My security camera is about 30 feet away behind triple pane glass windows inside a house we did extra insulation on this last spring. It has a shit microphone that barely picks up anything. I could hear her scream of rage like a pair of wild foxes in heat running 2 feet from my head. Her dog was turned from a fluff ball to a wet mop once more. But this time he was still mid-shit, so when she grabbed him physically, I could see her trying desperately to avoid the aerial shit torpedoes popping from his ass and flying into the air all over the sidewalk and the walkway to the street. Her phone clatters to the ground, she breaks a heel stumbling over, and one final doggy turd flies up into the air, executes a perfect 360 double pike, and lands on her blouse. The next day was a Thursday. I popped my browser tab open and lay in wait. I watch as pooper lady comes down the street, absorbed in her phone, dragging her mop of dog along behind her. When they get to my house, the dog stops and will not go any further. I see her turn and tug at his leash. He refuses. She stops. She looks at the area of the yard where my sprinklers are set up. She looks at him. She pulls at his leash again. And they begin walking towards the same area once more. And just before they get to the outside edge of my property, I turn on the sprinklers. The 3 seconds of lag means that by the time they're halfway to the spot of pooper lady, they're about 5 feet inside the spray zone. And the dog just nopes the fuck out of there quick enough she is startled and drops the leash. He runs off back the way they came, and she does the running in heels thing out of frame after him. That Friday morning, no pooper lady. The next Monday, around 10 a.m. I see the pooper lady's dog, but he's being walked by a young woman wearing the t-shirt of a local dog walking service. She stops by my doggy supply library. She smiles. She reaches down to pick up the poop. She tucks it in a bag, ties it off, and walks on with the dog, who looks much happier, overall. After about 3 months, I no longer see either pooper lady or her dust mop of a dog anywhere in the neighborhood. I guess she moved somewhere that she and her aggro asshole dog can live in peace and shit wherever they like. Still have the sprinkler set up, but now I tend to set it to run when nobody is around, like at 4 a.m. And only when the grass really needs it. Stories number 23. Aita for refusing to only nurse in my bedroom on family trip. Long story, I'm a mother of 4 including a 3-month-old. A few weeks ago I went out to lunch with my family and in-laws for my brother-in-law's birthday. As soon as the food came my baby got fussy so I spent the lunch walking around the outside of the restaurant while she napped. When she woke up I came back in and started to nurse her. My in-laws and family got up and left the restaurant. I had to leave without even eating. We are now supposed to be going on a beach vacation with in-laws. I told my husband I was unsure about going since it seemed like his family had a problem with me nursing. My husband called his parents and they said that the family had been talking and had decided I'd only be allowed to nurse in the bedroom during the beach trip. I was hurt by my family talking about this amongst themselves. I also feel it's unfair for me to have to be isolated from my kids and everyone else to nurse my baby. My husband thinks I'm being unreasonable and should give in to his family's demand. He said he will resent me if I don't. Am I the asshole for not going? Stories number 24. My 32F husband 36M staged an intervention after I told him I wanted a divorce. I 32F have been married to my husband 36M for 6 years. It's my first serious relationship. I love him, he's funny, charming and intelligent and we share a lot, but he has always been a little hot-headed. Some context first, a few months ago, a situation at work went badly and I fell into the burnout. I'm autistic, and the burnout has made my executive dysfunction much worse. I've been on sick leave ever since. I have very little energy. Even basic things leave me exhausted. I sleep a lot, socialize very little, skip meals. I know it's bad but I am doing my best. My husband has been very frustrated that I'm not respecting his needs. We don't have sex, I don't cook every day, and the house isn't as tidy as he'd like. Multiple times, I didn't take care of things while he was at work so he yelled at me. Others, I made him ignore me for hours. I tried to explain that I was struggling too much and he replied that I was using my situation and exaggerating my symptoms for attention. I tried to push myself to meet his needs and keep up with the house, but every time I quickly got too tired and had to stop. I tried to tell him but said he didn't want to hear it because he has enough on his plate. I never know if I am going to make him angry. I have been crying almost every day and I don't know if it's the burnout or if it's because I can't be there for him. I felt like it would be better for both of us to take a break. He refused and said THDT as his wife, it was my legal duty to be there in sickness and in health. 2 weeks ago, I finally told him I wanted a divorce. He had a meltdown and he yelled for hours, saying I was just confused because of my mental health. He apologized later and said I shouldn't act irrational like that. I hesitated for a few days and I told him I still wanted to leave. AMD he had another meltdown. Yesterday, I woke up and went downstairs to find my husband, his parents, and my parents, all waiting for me. They said they were extremely worried, that they never get news except from my husband. He reported to them he was scared for me because I was isolating and harming myself. They told me it was okay to need help. That I needed stability. They said they were all there for me no matter what. I cried the entire time. I felt cornered, humiliated, and defensive. I felt like that was not normal. But now I don't know what to think. After they left he said he contacted my GP and psychologist to let them know how bad it is, and booked an appointment with a psychiatrist on my behalf. He said they all care about me and want to help me be myself again. Part of me still wants to leave, but another part of me wonders if they're right. I still love him. And I'm definitely not at my most stable right now, I am in the fog. To be honest I feel really selfish and guilty about all of this. I am completely overwhelmed. Could you guys give me an outside perspective on this? Thanks a lot. Edit, thanks everyone, so many replies, I am grateful. I can't answer everyone right now but I can give a few thoughts and infos. I see my GP every 2 weeks. I was on Cipralex but we had to stop because of side effects, now we are trying mirtazapine. I had already seen a therapist before a few years ago and my husband called her and my GP yesterday to tell them I needed help before booking the appointment with the psychiatrist he found. I'll go to the appointments and give them my perspective. I have an okay relationship with my parents, they see me as fragile and don't always understand the autism. I think I will try to talk with Tem about what was going on and ask if I can stay with them temporarily. And get better before deciding on the divorce. I'll rest for now, this is a lot to take in. Thanks everyone. Stories number 25. My neighbor thinks I hexed her because her sourdough starter died, and now she's staging counterspells in my yard. So I live in a duplex, and my neighbor, let's call her Linda, is this 50-something woman who's really into witchcraft, crystals, moon water, the whole deal. I don't care, she's harmless, or she was. About a month ago, she came over ranting that her sourdough starter died overnight and that she could feel my energy was bad that day. I laughed because, it's bread goo. I told her maybe it was just mold or she forgot to feed it. Big mistake. Ever since, she's convinced I hexed her kitchen. She started doing these loud cleansing rituals in our shared front yard at like 3 a.m., burning sage, chanting in what I think is bad Spanish, and sprinkling mystery liquid around my plants. One morning, I found my basil covered in glitter. Last week, she escalated. I came home and there was a raw chicken not even packaged, just a raw, slimy chicken sitting in the middle of my welcome mat with a note taped to it that said the curse is returned. I literally had to bleach my doorstep. I've tried ignoring it, but last night she knocked on my door holding a mason jar of cloudy water and told me to drink this so we can be friends again. I said no, Linda, and shut the door. She started screaming that I don't respect the balance and that the bread gods will punish me. Now I'm wondering if I should call the police, but how do you even explain my neighbor thinks I killed her yeast and is retaliating with poultry-based magic? Update. The night that I posted the story, I saw her last night burying a Ziploc bag of cooked spaghetti under my car and yelling that she has to do this to confuse the bread spirits. I thought that would be my last straw, but then last night, I saw her in my backyard, my fenced backyard, shaking what looked like a salt shaker over my lawn while mumbling something about restoring the breadline. That was it. I called the non-emergency police line. 2 officers show up about 20 minutes later. I explained the whole situation, the dead sourdough starter, the 3 a.m. chanting, the raw chicken, the jars of swamp water, the spaghetti burial, all of it. I try to make it sound serious but not too insane. They go to talk to her, and within about 30 seconds, I hear her yelling, she's lying. The doe told me what she did. Then she drags them into her kitchen to show them the evidence. 10 minutes later, the officers come back out looking like they just survived a hostage negotiation with the Pillsbury Doughboy. They said she has some unusual beliefs, but as long as she's not physically harming me or damaging property, their hands are tied. They suggested I install a fence I have one and avoid engaging. As they were leaving, Linda stood on her porch holding a loaf of bread over her head like the Lion King baby and screamed, "The curse will turn on you." So now I have police documentation, 0 solutions, and a neighbor who probably thinks she won that round. Stories number 26. Aita for telling my wife that if I waited for her to make memories with our son, we wouldn't have any. Last weekend, I 39M helped my son 14M dye his hair purple. Or, my good friend who actually knew what he was doing helped dye my son's hair while I was there for music requests and object fetching. It was such a fun day, and I could tell how happy it made my boy. I didn't tell my wife before we did this, and that was the catalyst to the fight we're currently having. But for me, it's so much more than this one incident. My wife has been hands-off with our child for a while now. His soccer games, little road trips to nearby amusement parks, back-to-school shopping. She's too busy with work, or too tired from work. So, I've mostly just stopped having the conversations. Why would I waste my breath to have the same conversations on repeat? The night we dyed his hair, she started crying while we were talking, saying we were making all of these memories without her. I asked her what she expected me to do. If we waited for her to make memories, we would be sitting in a dark room 100% of the time. My son isn't even really comfortable with her anymore. There is no, "I can't take you, go ask your mom." Now it's, "I'm sorry I can't take you, let me see if friend is free that day." My wife isn't speaking to me now, and I'm wondering if I took it too far. I don't know. I was hoping some brutal honesty would change something. I would have loved having more kids, but I guess it's for the best now that she said no. Edit, I'm a stay-at-home dad. The original plan was for me to start working again when our son went to kindergarten, but my wife was gunning for a promotion around that time and asked me to stay out home longer. Once she got the promotion, her hours increased, so that time was extended once again. I am responsible for all the household chores and general homemaking tasks. I cook, clean, do all the yard work, all the grocery shopping, etc. I do enjoy being a stay-at-home dad, but I've been ready and willing to rejoin the workforce for a decade now. At this point, I will be getting a job when my son turns 16 and can get himself to and from school. But my wife still refuses to cut her hours even if I get a job, and gets frustrated every time I bring it up. There is no point in me forcing my son to ride the bus or figure out a ride for himself if my wife still won't make the effort or compromise in order to spend time with him. Stories number 27. Sexist, insufferable boomer put his hands on my neck today. I volunteer at a local animal shelter and there's a very creepy old guy who volunteers there. Most other volunteers there are women who avoid him. I'm one of the only volunteers that speaks to him, so he trusts me. Keep your enemies close. He has made a lot of wildly inappropriate comments to me, including calling another volunteer a bitch, and rude comments about a female staff's body figure. He has even made comments to me about hating his wife who has Parkinson's and is in hospice care. He's asked me and my friend weird personal questions, like whether or not we are roommates, which felt so gross of him to ask, especially when it was followed by a question about my relationship status and then an inference about my sexual orientation. Today, we were alone in the back and I was talking to him about something. I can't remember what was said, but it doesn't matter because he made a face like he was angry and put his hands on my neck and pretended to choke me. Throughout the day, he made multiple comments about women not being good listeners, and after hearing it several times I jokingly replied, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that," and he made this angry face and grabbed my hat off of my head. The rest of the women there are totally passive and just avoid him or try to keep the conversations with him short. I've only volunteered for a few weeks, but I'm ready to start collecting evidence and speak to other volunteers so I can file a report. He crossed a huge line today. The women who work there don't deserve to feel uncomfortable, unsafe, harassed, or intimidated. Reflecting back, I should have kicked him in the balls when he put his hands on my neck. If I ever have a daughter one day, she's going to learn jiu-jitsu. If you have a daughter, niece, or a little sister, please consider enrolling her in self-defense and encourage her to fight instead of freeze if she is ever touched non-consensually. TLDR boomer who tests boundaries with women and makes sexist comments put his hands on my neck and pretended to choke me today. It is now my mission to get him banned from the shelter. Wish me luck. Update: he has been dismissed and is being charged with a Class C misdemeanor on grounds of assault. After sending my statement to the volunteer coordinator about the old creep who grabbed my neck and pretended to strangle me, he was dismissed by management. I was fearful that it would get swept under the rug because I live in a very conservative state where many women are conditioned to tolerate sexism and inappropriate male behavior, but I'm pleased and relieved that there are still people with integrity and no tolerance for sexist creeps who grab women and think they can get away with it. I'm proud of myself for reporting because I could have given in to fear, let it go and just never returned like many before me probably did. I could have kept listening to the friend who convinced herself that he was just quirky, awkward, and autistic. I have many friends with ASD and none of them have ever grabbed my neck and followed me to make sure I didn't tell anyone. After he was dismissed, one of the volunteers found out the one who the creep referred to as a bitch and thanked me and said it was like a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders because she had reported him too. She had witnessed other volunteers avoid coming in when he was there. A friend of a friend volunteered at the same shelter in 2014 and he had a reputation of being a creep back then too. To anyone who has been, or currently is, or could potentially be in a similar situation, don't let anyone try to downplay the situation, or guilt you or blame you for how you react to a predator. The type of criticism that victims receive creates fear of judgment and causes them to avoid coming forward. I'm sure he would have been dismissed sooner if women weren't fearful of being blamed and judged. Predators are sneaky. They can be charismatic and helpful, they can flatter you and tell you personal things to build trust and rapport. There are a million ways for them to get you to lower your guard. It takes only a moment for them to go from poking fun to getting you alone with their hands around your throat. But I hope this outcome encourages others to report if they experience anything like this. And document everything. I had almost a dozen examples of sexist or inappropriate comments and bizarre conduct from him in my report, several of which my friend could corroborate. And after 15 years, he can no longer harass the hardworking women at my local animal shelter. Trust yourself and your intuition, especially when it comes to weirdos. Stay safe. Edit: I was on the fence about filing a police report, but after finding out he has been suspended and allowed to return in the past, I went ahead and filed it and he is being charged with a Class C misdemeanor. I hope he can never work for the public around women again. Stories number 28. $5,000 breast augmentation only cost me $500. I was never charged the balance. About 11 years ago I decided it was time for me to upgrade the gals after years and years of breastfeeding children. I shopped around for a surgeon until I found one whose style was more of the natural look I was going for. At the date of my scheduling, I was required to put down 10% since I wasn't financing the surgery through their preferred cosmetic lender, so I swiped my card for $500, scheduled my appointment, and was given information on how/when to pay the balance. Well, life was happening and schedules were busy, such as life with kids, and it must have slipped my mind to call and pay the balance, but it also slipped the mind of the billing specialist at the office because on the day of surgery, I still hadn't paid the remaining balance. My ex-husband and I decided to just not mention it and see if they did, and at my 24 hours and 2 WK follow-up, the office still hadn't requested the final payment. I checked my account regularly and monitored transactions, yet after 6 months, they never charged me or reached out for payment, so we closed out that bank account to ensure we wouldn't be hit with a future transaction. I took my kids to Disney World with the extra money. After 11 years I've never been contacted and am still enjoying life with the gals. Stories number 29. Serial reproductive abuser from New Orleans, impregnated 10 women nationwide and falsifies his DNA, most likely more. Reproductive abuse is real. Watch the SVU with John Stamos. That's basically this man's inspo. He is 39, black man with white hair. He is now a Texas resident and frequents Houston, Dallas. Please share on your socials and boost this post. We are trying to get a legit journalist to take on the story in order to find the other victims, and so the courts will be pressured to charge him, and to prevent him from continuing this destruction. He is on all types of social/dating apps. FB Dating, Hinge, Tinder, Seeking, FetLife and all social media apps. He finds female victims of any age 17 to 40, some he starts long-term relationships with, some he solicits for sex work, all with the intention of impregnating them. He will try every avenue to do so. Manipulation, lies of a future family, saying IUDs hurt him/cause cancer, allergic to condoms, removing condoms during sex while a woman is asleep, orgasming without acknowledging and then seemingly pulling out later, and even telling some women that he was sterile. Over 20 women have confirmed he talked about or tried to get them pregnant while they dated. Each of the women believed he was not a father and did not know of any children. Some of these women he dated long-term, lived with him, met family and friends. 10 of these women got pregnant, of them 6 birthed his child, the oldest child being almost 15. Once the women got pregnant he would go no contact. If the women ever reached out to his family they would be ignored or blocked. He has never met any of children nor has any of his family. He would begin making threats to the women if they dared speak about him. He would say that he'd call the police if they contacted his family/friends, that he had lawyers on a $50,000 retainer. He has actually made good on one of those threats and has filed to sue some of the mothers for speaking about him and for reaching out to his family, their child's paternal family. One mother was undeterred and continued the child support case. The first test came back negative, a test in which he chose the lab and sent in the swab to the court-affiliated DDC lab. The man refused to appear in person, stating he was in Bahrain. The mother went on Ancestry and proved relation to her child and demanded the New Orleans court to do it the right way through court-appointed locations. After 2 years of the case being open, the man was finally forced to appear in person, where they surprised him with a DNA test in open court. He tried to run. It came back positive. He denied its legitimacy. The state then flew in the VP of DDC to confirm its legitimacy. However, the judge allowed the man to request a third test, which he never completed. He transferred his properties and business to his father, continuing to lie about being in Bahrain, even altering notarized documents proving he was in the U.S. He was held in contempt for never supplying his income or passport or proof of work overseas. He then stated he was fired from his own business in which he was the only employee, and stated on the stand that he was collecting unemployment from the state of Texas, and the 4 luxury vehicles including a Cybertruck, were the company's vehicles. For years from the beginning of the case, the judge finally named him the father and set the monthly amount at $2,000 with a total arrears of $90,000. He was held in contempt and ordered to pay $10,000 or face 30 days in jail. He never paid and presumably has a warrant out for his arrest. Meanwhile, he has multiple open child support cases in Dallas and who knows where else. He has dated women in Toronto, Seattle, Boston, Pittsburgh, Miami, Orlando, West Virginia, Los Angeles, Louisiana, Texas, and more. He travels frequently, internationally as well, and will set his dating parameters to nationwide. If you or a woman you know dated this man, you are not alone. you were victimized, and if you birthed his child you can seek justice. Stories number 30. Entitled Woman Demands I Destroy Our Stapler for Her Convenience, Then Buy Her a New One. I work part-time at a local print shop while finishing school. It's usually pretty chill, people come in, make copies, print stuff, pay, and leave. But last week this woman came in and tested my patience. She walked in with this massive stack of papers, at least 200 pages thick. She puts it down on the counter and says she needs it stapled. I look at this thing and it's clearly way too thick for our regular stapler. We have heavyweight staplers for bigger jobs, but this was beyond even that. I politely explain that our staplers can't handle something that thick and suggest she might want to use binder clips or get it spiral bound instead. She tells me that's ridiculous and that I need to make it work. I explain again that it would literally break our stapler and show her how thick the stack is compared to what the stapler can handle. This woman then demands that I try anyway, and when it breaks her words, the shop should give her a heavy-duty stapler to take home so she can finish the job herself. Since it's our fault for having inadequate equipment. I tell her absolutely not, and that if she wants it stapled she'll need to find somewhere with industrial binding equipment. That's when she really lost it and started yelling about customer service and how small businesses like ours don't deserve to succeed if we can't handle simple requests. She demanded to speak to my manager who wasn't there and threatened to go online and leave bad reviews. Worse still, she would tell all her friends not to use our store. I thought, oh please do, lady. The whole time there's a line forming behind her and people are getting annoyed. This one guy finally speaks up and calmly tells her to either accept the alternatives or leave because she's holding everyone up. She spun around and told him to mind his own business, but you could tell she was getting embarrassed. She grabbed her stack of papers and stormed out, but not before announcing loudly that she was going to corporate. We're not a chain, honey, and that she'd make sure I got fired. About an hour later my manager comes back and I tell him what happened. He just laughs and says he got a voicemail from some woman ranting about staplers and demanding we deliver a new one to her house. He deleted it. Stories number 31. The manager who tried to make me cover his date. When I worked retail, my manager, Greg, had a habit of disappearing for urgent errands, usually to meet his girlfriend. One Saturday, he told me to stay 2 hours past my shift because he had something important. That something important turned out to be a dinner date at a fancy restaurant. I know because he posted a photo mid-shift with the caption, "Finally some me time." When I told him I couldn't stay, he said, "As a team player, you should be willing to help me out. I work harder than you. Greg, my guy, I'm on minimum wage. You make triple that." I left at my scheduled time. 10 minutes later, I got a barrage of texts calling me selfish. I sent one back, "Enjoy dessert. Hope you left room for unemployment." HR had already been looking for a reason. That was it. Greg's me time turned into permanent time off. Stories number 32. Aita for refusing to let my wife put certain stickers on our car. My wife 24F and I 29M have been together for 5 years and I'm the main provider while she stays at home with our children, including our 2-month-old daughter. My wife is an artist and makes a decent income, but she hasn't made much lately because she's focusing on our family. I make good money so I don't mind paying for everything because she's keeping our home in order. We both have cars we drive, I pay for both. My wife is very outspoken about things she believes in, and makes her opinions known. Recently she purchased a bunch of car stickers that are politically motivated, including a pro-choice sticker advocating for LGBTQ community and, a very hot topic recently, Palestine. She says she purchased these because the proceeds for all the stickers go to a charity for the designated community. I asked her what she was planning on doing with them, like putting them on her laptop, or her water bottle or what, and she said she planned on putting them on her car. I told her I couldn't let her do that because we live in the deep south where the current political climate is a bit messy too. She is a small woman with 3 young children and people will see her as an easy target for aggressive behavior, and 3, she could possibly be putting our children in harm's way if someone takes offense to any of these stickers. She got upset and said I was trying to police what she can and can't advocate for publicly, and that she is an adult and can make choices for herself and our children and is able to handle any negative situations that could happen. I told her she couldn't put the stickers on the car and I wouldn't let her make that choice alone because they're our children. She just scoffed and said we would continue this conversation later and went to our baby's nursery. My sister says I'm being an asshole, trying to dictate what my wife can and can't do in public, and that if someone were to get aggressive over her stickers that's a them problem and I shouldn't treat my wife like a child, but I don't think I am. Aita here. Update, I discussed with my wife and we came to an agreement. I laid out all my concerns, and she said she saw my point and let hormones. Keep in mind she's barely 2 months postpartum and we have a 3-year-old and a 18-month-old, and feelings get the better of her. We are fine, we have made up. The stickers are going to go on her laptop and in her art studio.